Hello, this is DrPaulCottrell, and I am doing a live stream. I'm doing the live stream on YouTube and on Rumble. Rumble has the dashboard of the market. I'll do a market recap soon here, but you'll be able to see the live stream on YouTube, Rumble, and my website. I have to set up the link for the website. So please go to my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com, if you want to see the live stream that way. You can see the dashboard and just the larger screen, or just follow me on YouTube or Rumble for the live stream. Make sure you subscribe to all my channels. I have 4 channels on YouTube. I have Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. That way you're getting the notifications in a timely manner. Make sure you subscribe to all those channels. In addition, again, bookmark my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com, to take a look at my website and also the live streams from the website. I also data bank the podcasts. You can see my podcast on my website. It's under broadcast radio, or if you want to see the live stream, broadcast live. That way you can listen to the audio. If you want to listen to the audio podcast, you can listen also on Podomatic and Apple Podcast. With that, I'm going to be setting up the call-in for Ep60 soon here. But we're going to go over the news. We're going to go over what's going on in the market. Before I start, as I set up the links, let's go to Bloomberg and see what they have to say with the current trading. Again, this is December 26th. This is the live stream. This is also going to be reposted as a recording. So, this is supposed to be interactive. You can do a call-in through Ep60 when I set it up.
Know how tariffs work, like they most of the time get passed down to the consumer and raise prices. So that is going to be a big theme of our coverage and what we're looking for next year. Obviously, tariffs are really complicated. We don't know what industries they're going to hit first, what types of products they're going to hit, how big they will be, what countries they will affect. These are all still unknown. But generally speaking, what economists think will happen is that tariffs will raise prices for consumers and will slow economic growth, which ultimately is not great for the consumer, not great for the companies that we cover on the consumer beat. And we got a little bit of a preview of this in the consumer confidence ratings that were just out a couple weeks ago. They tanked for the first time in a while, in part because of this concern and uncertainty over tariffs.
Very quickly here, about 30 seconds. We know consumers are talking about this. How about companies themselves, as you listen to earnings calls and CEOs speaking? Are they engaging with the notion of what tariffs might mean for their bottom line?
Some are saying we just don't know. I think a lot of companies that were maybe already planning on moving their production outside of China or closer to the US are speaking out about it. A lot of companies are just saying they don't know. Walmart obviously said, yes, like tariffs will ultimately raise prices for us. So it's different answers across the board. It'll be really interesting to watch. I think there's a lot we don't know that we will learn soon once the new administration enters the White House.
We know you'll be watching it closely. Emily Cohn joining us here in the studio in New York, getting that gold star from one Paul Sweeney, which is not worth nothing, I promise you. Consumer editor here at Bloomberg News, talking about what 2025 is likely to look like across a variety of sectors. Talked about travel, talked about retail, coming up a broad perspective on the stock market, fixed income for 2025 with Troy Gajewski, Chief Market Strategist at FS Investments. He's going to join us next. This is Bloomberg.
A continent of vast opportunity and endless potential, but not without its challenges. Bloomberg highlights the players and unpacks the issues shaping the African story. We'll bring you interviews with key newsmakers and expert analysis, getting to the heart of business, politics, and economics in the region. I'm Jennifer Zadasaja, and this is Africa Amplified.
All right. So what I want to do, all right, I just set up the live stream on the website, so you can see it there if you want to. I'll set up the Ep60 soon here. Let's, there was an attack, there's an Afghani attack yesterday. There was 46 dead in Afghanistan after a Pakistan strike. So let's just get a little bit of an update on that.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome in here on Live Now from Fox. The time 7:12 on the East Coast and 4:12 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and I'm here for the next several hours to bring you all of your top stories, live events, and breaking news. As you can see, we are covering some breaking news right now coming in out of the Afghanistan area. Here is what we know so far via this tweet from the Associated Press. Pakistan's airstrikes on eastern Afghanistan have killed 46 people, mostly women and children. That is according to a Taliban government official. We are told from the deputy spokesman for the Afghan government that 6 people were also wounded in this area that borders Pakistan. This comes a day after Pakistani security officials, speaking on the condition of remaining anonymous in line with regulations, told the Associated Press that Tuesday's operation was to dismantle a training facility and kill insurgents in a province there in Afghanistan. In the meantime, in a statement, we heard from the spokesperson for the Pakistani Taliban claiming that 50 people, including 27 women and children, were killed in the strike. So again, all of this information here is just coming into the newsroom. Residents in the area telling an Associated Press reporter over the phone that at least 13 people were left dead, adding that the death toll could be even higher. They also said the wounded were transported to a local hospital. Again, a lot of conflicting information coming in at this hour as we continue to gather the latest with the help of the Associated Press and Fox News. Pakistan has not commented on the strikes. However, the Pakistani military said security forces killed 13 insurgents in an intelligence-based operation in a district located along eastern Afghanistan's province there. The strikes are likely to further spike tensions between the two countries. Afghanistan's ruling Taliban government denouncing the attack, saying that most of the victims were refugees from a region in the area and promising retaliation. Now, the TTP is a separate group, but also a close ally of the Afghan Taliban, who seized power in Afghanistan in August 2021. In March, Pakistan said intelligence-based strikes took place in the border regions inside Afghanistan. Pakistan has seen militant attacks in the past 2 decades, but there has been an uptick in recent months. The latest this weekend, when at least 16 Pakistani soldiers were killed when TTP attacked a checkpoint in the country's northwest. Pakistani officials have accused the Taliban of not doing enough to combat militant activity across the shared border, a charge the Afghan Taliban government denies, saying that it does not allow anyone to carry out attacks against any country. Again, if you are just joining us, Pakistan's airstrikes on eastern Afghanistan killing 46 people, most of those women and children. That is according to a Taliban government official speaking with the Associated Press. We'll, of course, continue to follow all of the breaking details right here on
Okay,
Live
so
Now.
I set up the X Spaces so you can follow on X Spaces. You can do a call in through X Spaces. Just click the link in the description of this video and all my videos to, get to the different links and the different social media and the different channels. But I do a call in on X Spaces. So if you would like to listen in that way and request to talk, great. This is supposed to be interactive. So, all right. So I want to do a recap on the market. So it's 11 o'clock New York time. So the S&P 500 is trading at 6,034. All right, 6,034. So that's pretty good. Again, I've been saying that year end, I've been saying this for months, year end was going to be anywhere from 5,800 to about 6,000. So, it's going to be a decent close for the end of the year. So it's probably going to be at the 6,000 mark or a little bit above it. VIX is at about 15. The Euro USD, the dollar has lost a little bit in value relative to the euro compared to last recording. So that's at 1.04. The oil is trading at about $70 a barrel, about 70.18. Bitcoin ETF BITO, which is long, is trading at 23. I think Bitcoin is trading at like 90, 95, 93, 95,000 a coin, something around there. And the USD Japanese yen is trading at 158.01. So that's where the market is at the moment. So equities are, somewhat calm. There's not a lot of liquidity today because of Boxing Day. It's near the end of the year. A lot of trades are just kind of on autopilot, right? But let's take a look at the news here. What's going on in the news? But before we do that, Fox News is talking about blue states will. They did a little commentary about blue states. I want to play that. But before I do that, please help support my work, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the supplements that I offer on my store. Because we're in the cold season, I have these structural nano silver drops, very high quality, in 100 count. You can get them in cherry, you can get them in blueberry, and in honey and lemon. Get a couple bags for your household. Be prepared for the cold season. Incidences during the cold season are going up for December. I suspect the same thing in January. It behooves you to just be prepared. This is a great way to do it. The moment you have an irritation in your throat, start taking the drops. It's made from structural nanosilver, and it'll help to mitigate the irritation and maintain that mucosal barrier that you need. So please go to the store and get the structural nanosilver drops. I also have very high quality structural nanosilver soaps. Very, very high quality, way better than the other stuff that's out there that you're getting at the grocery store or at the drugstore. So go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the oatmeal spice or the peppermint or the charcoal tea tree. Very high quality bar. Get a couple bars for your household. They neutralize pathogens, very high quality. It's made from structural nanosilver. And it's really important to use deodorant, but use deodorant that is made from high quality ingredients, right? You can get from my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. I've partnered up with Rainbow Herbals, and we've developed these deodorant bars that are dual purpose. You use them as a deodorant, but they also help to detoxify your body. They're made from essential oils from the Himalayas, so you can get it in peppermint, lavender, and tea tree, or in citrus. Very high quality, dual purpose, made for males and females. Get a couple bars for your household. Help support my work, help support your health. This has no aluminum in it, and it has no baking soda in it. It's made from essential oils from the Himalayas, extremely high quality. Go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video. Go to the store and get these great, very high quality deodorant bars. It helps support your health and help support the channel. It's a win-win situation. All right, so let's go to Fox News. They're talking about, it looks like Gavin Newsom here.
To be free and flexible and creative was really essential to what I wanted to make, and I didn't find a platform that did that other than Wix.
Allies of House Speaker Mike Johnson warning any effort to remove him as Speaker could delay the certification of the 2024 election. Lawmakers will hold a speakership vote January 3rd and will vote to certify the election on January 6th. If the Speaker is not elected by that date, lawmakers cannot be sworn in and therefore cannot certify the election. And remember, it took about 3 weeks for Republicans to replace former Speaker Kevin McCarthy last year with Johnson. Texas Congressman Pat Fallon is urging President-elect Trump to reaffirm his support for Johnson. Telling Fox News Digital Trump's endorsement would be incredibly powerful. Politico is also reporting that Trump is unhappy with Speaker Johnson, questioning whether Johnson is capable of managing the Republicans' razor-thin majority. Trump also felt blindsided by the first continuing resolution deal that Johnson struck with the Democrats. Lawmakers telling Maria whether or not Johnson should be removed. Watch.
I think that we need to stay the course. I mean, we had chaos when Kevin McCarthy was taken out, and Mike Johnson was somebody that all the different factions could support, and I don't see it being any different right now.
Rather than getting rid of the debt ceiling, you get a speaker with a spine who puts forward a spending plan that actually encourages conservatives like myself and some members of the Freedom Caucus to join on.
Are you saying you'll support Mike Johnson?
I think it's good to mix it up and let them know we are not happy with the job they're doing.
We need to back President Trump, and if President Trump is going to back Johnson, I'm sure that he will be the speaker.
I know there have been a number of members who have expressed interest in continuing the conversation about Speaker Johnson and where we go from here. But I think he's been working very hard to try to accommodate the needs of the individual House members and the priorities of the incoming administration.
Joining me now is North Carolina Congressman Greg Murphy. He's a member of the House Veterans Affairs, Ways and Means, and Administration Committees, and he's also the co-chair of the GOP Doctors Caucus. Congressman, good morning to you. Do you support,
good morning, Cheryl.
And Merry Christmas, do you support Mike Johnson?
I do. You know, the Speaker of the House is the most difficult job, and especially with many different factions within the Republican Party. We call them the five families, with very, very differing, sometimes theological bents. Some are in Biden 10 districts. Others are in R35 districts. And walking that line as a Speaker of the House is extremely difficult. And we have some folks, Cheryl, truth be told, wake up in the morning and instead of saying, how can we get something done, they say, how can I obstruct and get on media? And that's extremely difficult. Mike has done, I believe, a very, very good job. Is it perfect? No, we're not going to get perfect. And some individuals literally just want to topple the House down for the sake of toppling the House down. He has done a very, very good job in trying to pull things together. And I think kicking him out and going through the same absolute chaos that Matt Gaetz started with McCarthy last session is absolutely wrong and does a horrible thing for President Trump's first 100 days. So let us stay the course. Let us actually have conversations. Let us actually do things and communicate. And let us not have people who go one off and then run off to the media to spout out their disliking of what the speaker is.
No, Matt Gaetz is no longer in Congress. Look, let's talk about spending after this bruising CR fight that we just wrapped up on December 20th. And talk about where the cuts need to be. You know, Rand Paul says there's $1 trillion that you can cut. Listen to Rand Paul and where he says that DOGE can help and maybe where it can't. Watch.
Ultimately, it takes Congress. Congress has to get rid of the spending. DOGE can point out the spending problems and the waste the same way I've been pointing it out. But the reason it's not eliminated is they don't have the votes to get rid of the spending. About a year ago, there was a CHIPS bill, a bill to subsidize microchips, semiconductors in the United States. Well, in that bill, they doubled the size of the National Science Foundation. Now, the National Science Foundation is the one that's famous for doing a study on whether tequila or gin makes people more aggressive. So they fed fish, half of them tequila, and the other half of the fish gin, and they decided which made the fish more aggressive. All the Democrats and half the Republicans voted to double the size of the National Science Foundation. So why is there more waste? Because the idiots in Congress keep giving them more money.
Congressman, your reaction to that?
You know, I'm not sure which tequila or gin is really best for the fish. But you know, what Rand Paul points out is some of the asinine funding things. The same thing with DEI funding at NIH. I believe it was $180 million to fund DEI initiatives within a science foundation. He's absolutely true. There are so many things that we go. We have a target-rich environment. Medicare Advantage, for example, is bilking the government from hundreds of billions of dollars by upcoding and so many other things. There's target-rich environments. But also remember, Cheryl, We have entitlement spending, we have Medicare, we have Social Security, things that are sacrosanct, that are really our major drivers of where our debt is. And so where reform is needed, it is needed. And so you can't, Rome was not built in a day. You can't change all of this overnight. We got rid of a lot of things. I voted for that CR because I live in North Carolina. Western North Carolina has been devastated, apocalyptic. Because of the hurricane, and I was not going to not vote against them. The same thing is with our farmers. Our farmers are literally on lifeline. And guess what? Food doesn't come from the grocery store. It comes from the farmer's field. And so we have to make priorities. And yeah, again, things are not done immediately. Let us get into the session. Let us start.
I started using custom hair care from Pros because I was starting to feel like I wasn't using the right products for my hair type. The before and afters speak for themselves. Once I started using my Pros for...
Let us get into the session. Let us start working with President Trump on his initiatives. Let us go through the appropriations bills. We could only get 5 out of 12 done in Congress last time because we had some individuals, because nothing's perfect for them, that were going to vote against anything. Let us get back in the process. Don't start the entire session with chaos again. Let us start with orderly rule and let us rule. We have 2 years really to put in President Trump's agenda. Let us do this and not fight amongst ourselves the entire time.
I want to ask you about immigration as well, Congressman, because California Governor Newsom reportedly is considering this plan to shield illegal immigrants from President-elect Trump's deportation plans. Politico has this draft memo they've obtained. It's called Immigrant Support Network Concept. Proposes regional hubs.
Now, what's interesting with this is that you have a deep state, an administrative state, that doesn't want Trump to be effective as a leader of the executive branch, as the President of the United States. So creating a wedge between the MAGA movement in Congress and some of the more well-heeled, entrenched deep staters within Congress that are more aligned with the lobbying group than with the policies of President Trump. Having that infighting is going to just make him less effective. And the way this is going to work is Trump has to be hitting on all cylinders for the first 2 years to really make a difference. So, I'm not for Johnson as a speaker, but throwing it up, throwing up, a contention for speakership right before the certification, I think is crazy, right? It's just only going to delay stuff. Just imagine, that kind of delay, Now, could it be rectified before the inauguration? Yeah, the certification's on the 6th, the inauguration's on the 20th. It's not really that big of a deal, but I think the best way to play this is just keep Johnson as speaker for the certification, right? And just try to push policies forward. The problem is Johnson has a tendency to be a little bit more sympathetic, I feel, to this deep state and the lobbying group. So perhaps he should be challenged after the certification, after the inauguration. But the problem comes is that it would create a big problem in Congress, slow down policy for Trump. So there's no real good solution to this. It's almost like Johnson is a bitter pill in a contract, so I think the game theory on this would be just keep Johnson as speaker, even though his loyalty is questionable. I think that bill, especially that first one, that the Plan A bill with the 1,500 plus pages, that should have never been drafted. That should have never been drafted under Johnson's leadership. Absolutely not. I think he failed there. I think he absolutely failed. But trying to root him out as speaker now, I think it's just going to hurt Trump. These first 100 days are really important for Trump. He has to hit on all cylinders. So maybe keep Johnson in for the first 100 days, and then, you know, find a way to kick him out. I don't like him. At first I did like him, but after seeing what was going on, I aligned more with what Rand Paul is saying. You know, there's too much wasteful spending, and he buckled. Johnson buckled. So you have this division that could potentially happen and harm Trump's administration, especially the first 100 days. And then you have these policies where the governors are fighting Trump with the deportation. So it's going to be a free-for-all. The first, in 2025, it's going to be a free-for-all. All right, it's going to be very chaotic. There's lots of disruption. There's going to be a lot to cover. This is part of the reason why I created the whole concept of telemetry. And you know, we'll see how it plays out. But my fear here is that the Democratic Party is trying to create these roadblocks for Trump for the deportation of illegal immigrants. And you have actually the rhinos in Congress that are trying to create speed bumps for Trump, preventing him from really truly implementing full restructuring of the national security state. And you know, some of the other departments like HHS. My understanding is, I thought I heard that Lindsey Graham was not going to vote for RFK Jr. I thought that's what I saw somewhere in a feed. I could be wrong on that. Maybe that's just fake information. I don't know. But is Lindsey Graham going to support RFK Jr.? I mean, because what RFK Jr. is saying is correct. Our food supply is poisoned. You know, we got a problem. The way things are tested by the CDC and the FDA, it's a problem, big time. There is too much revolving door going on. So, here's another aspect of trying to trip up the Trump administration by, slow walking the nominees, not supporting them, having Congress in a food fight for the speakership, and then having governors fighting Trump because of the deportation. Now, we need to deport these illegals. For sure, we need to. We also need a speaker that has balls that reduces the debt and, is in line with restructuring an inefficient government. And we need the Senate to start confirming individuals that Trump needs for that restructuring. So that's my take on it. But
at-risk individuals, families, communities with systems such as legal services, schools, labor unions, local governments, Congress. You reacted to this on X. You accused Newsom of obstruction of justice and aiding and abetting. So I want to get your take on this in this push from not just Newsom, but we're seeing this at the local level as well in sanctuary cities.
We have laws in this land, Cheryl, and President Biden and Vice President Harris decided that they were above the law. They didn't need to regard the law. And so, America spoke, and America gave a mandate to President Trump the rule of law. Newsom has created his own little deficit spending debacle of a state. I believe there's $68 billion in debt now. And what he wants to do is basically break the law. We saw this a long time ago when states didn't want to integrate, and they wanted to continue with segregation. These are laws, these are national laws. He doesn't get to pick and choose which one he gets. Yeah, no, we're not going to send in the National Guard, but you know what? They get a lot of federal money. And if they want to have their state dry up even quicker because of his nasty policies, I don't think he lasts long. And this time when the recount comes, he's gone. You cannot keep flaunting and caring more about people who've come in this country illegally than the people of our own country. This is nonsense. These blue states the day is coming. They're going to rue the day. They're going to continue these asinine and ridiculous policies.
Well, let's stay with this because many self-proclaimed sanctuary states are seeing a massive surge in migrant populations. If you look at the latest Census Bureau data, the U.S. added a record 2.8 million migrants between 2023 and 2024. That is only 5 times as many that was added in 2019. Foreign migration over the past year has offset the amount of U.S. citizens leaving Democrat-run states like California, New York, and Illinois. So they're leaving these Democrat-run states, but what these Democratic-run states are doing is they're encouraging migrants to come in, of course, at the cost to taxpayers. Is this a politically motivated decision?
Cheryl, this was politically motivated from day one. This was politically motivated from day one to try to change the electoral college, to try to change populations in states. And if you look at, gosh, take New York, for example, look at what's going on in New York City. Finally, a lot of the blue Democrats are fighting back, saying this is nonsense. I think Lee Zeldin, the only reason he's not governor of New York right now is so many Republicans left New York. No, this is their nefarious plan to change the way, that fundamentally change the way, as Obama said, transform the country, and then to do it by illegal methods, illegal modes, and to try to bring.
All right, we're gonna go to a launch retaliatory strike on the Houthis by Israel. But before we do that, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and help support my work and help support your health. The supplements that I offer and the protocols that I do for health, you can piggyback on and improve your health. So just follow my lead. I'll tell you how it's done, how to stack it, and you're gonna move towards a healthier lifestyle and a healthier body. It's a win-win, all right? Help support my work, but also help support your health. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video and all my videos. Probiotics are really important for your health, all right? I have 2 different types. I have a powdered version, which is what I normally use. I just mix it with food. You can mix it with filtered water or a smoothie. Take it every day. There's a little scooper in here. You just take 1 scoop a day. Or you can take a VeggieCap version. Both are very high quality. And with taking a good probiotic every day, what's going to happen is your gut inflammation is going to go down. You're going to have better metabolism. You're going to have a thicker mucosal lining, so your immune system is going to be better for your gut. Your metabolism is going to be better. Your detoxification of your liver is going to be better. You'll have more mental acuity, and you're going to reduce chances of depression. Bad gut health can cause problems with your liver and your brain and your other organ systems, including your skin. So improving your gut not only helps with your liver and your brain and your gut, but it's improving your skin, your hair, your nails. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the probiotic, all right? If you have not paid attention to your health at all, the very first thing you need to do is start taking a probiotic and improve your gut. Filter your water. I use 0 water. Improve what you eat by reducing, if not completely eliminating, processed foods. When you do that, your body is going to start slowly healing and improving its endocrine system and its immune system. And you're going to actually see your body having more energy and more vitality. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the probiotic. Take it every day, all right? In addition, to help boost up your digestion, right? As we get older, we need to reduce the load on our pancreas, all right? So if you're 40 plus, you probably have to be careful on what you eat, all right? I have a digestive enzyme complex that helps to break up carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. This is very important to take every day to reduce the load on your pancreas. This way, you're absorbing the nutrients you need. It reduces the load on the pancreas. You're breaking up carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. if you work out on a regular basis, taking digestive enzyme complex, if you're younger or if you're older and you're working out regularly, this will help to refuel your body and you will recover quicker. So it's a dual purpose. I believe in providing products that have dual purpose. All right. In addition, digestive enzyme complex has a fibrinolytic enzyme called bromelain. So that helps to break up clots. In addition, there's proteolytic enzymes in here to help break up glycoproteins. And we know why that was important in 2020. So now do you understand why I kept on saying, people, take the digestive enzyme complex? So again, this is a dual purpose product. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the digestive enzyme complex. It's important to boost up your immune system. You boost up your immune system by bringing down inflammation and soaking up those free radicals. I have a powder here, a powder that's called lignans. You mix it with food or with filtered water or a smoothie. Take it every day. This is going to boost up your immune system. Bring down inflammation, soak up free radicals, and help with your endocrine system. Really important. Take this every day. Improving your immune system is a major component in a stack to improve your overall health. Just like the gut, well, you need to take supplements that help to improve your immune system and your endocrine system. So please go to my store and get the lignans. Take it every day. It's a powder, works really well. I mix it with hummus. Go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Make sure you use discount 5. All caps, discount, and the number 5, you get $5 off. If you buy an anti-aging box or a longevity box, those boxes are designed to be at a discount compared to buying the products individually. So you can use the discount 5 on top of that. So there's many ways to save money if you buy my products. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the lignans, get the anti-aging boxes, get the longevity boxes, use discount 5. All right. Let's go to Israel vows to launch retaliatory strike on Houthis. This was published 2 hours ago.
So, Israel, are the Houthis as strong as Israel militarily?
Well, first and foremost, no, they are not overall militarily as strong or sophisticated as Israel. However, I think that's what gives the Houthis a little bit of advantage. When you compare them to the tens of thousands of rockets and missiles that Hezbollah had, for example, and their proximity to Israel, that makes them very dangerous.
Because I saw
Retaliatory
this
attacks on the
video
Houthi rebels in Yemen after the terror group continues to launch rocket attacks in Tel Aviv. Mark Chandler is the Director of Government Relations at Coastal Carolina University and a professor of practice that is also a former senior defense intelligence official. He joins us quite a bit here on Live Now from Fox. Mark, thank you so much for joining us to discuss this just a little bit further.
You're welcome, Josh. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Well, first off, I do want to ask, because we're hearing a lot more about these Houthi attacks on Israel. Are they ramping up? Are the Houthi terrorists, the Houthi rebels there, ramping up their attacks on Israel?
Well, Josh, I don't know if I would so much characterize it as ramping up their attacks. They've conducted over 300 attempted attacks throughout the past year since Hamas invaded Israel. So when you go and look at what the Houthis have done, you know, they've had about 200 on Israel itself with ballistic missiles and UAVs. But what I would characterize it, if you look at this, I would say they're getting more accurate and they're focusing their attacks. I mean, so we had 2 attacks, Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, on Israel. Last week we had 2 attacks. These are ballistic missiles that are actually making it through Israeli defenses. So I think with this focused attack, and maybe they've obtained a little bit more sophisticated missile from Iran. You know, Iran's got thousands and thousands of missiles and one of the better missile inventories in the world. So I think that what they're working on is their ability to focus these attacks and get through those Israeli defenses. As good as the missile defense is in Israel, there are leaks, and it only takes one or two of these missiles to cause damage or kill people.
I do have to ask, overall, and you kind of touched on this here, but how does the Houthi arsenal, so to speak, compare to that of Hamas, Hezbollah, but also Israel? Are the Houthis as strong as Israel militarily?
Well, first and foremost, no, they are not overall militarily as strong or sophisticated as Israel. However, I think that's what gives the Houthis a little bit of advantage. When you compare them to the tens of thousands of rockets and missiles that Hezbollah had, for example, and their proximity to Israel, that makes them very dangerous. You know, a lot of airstrikes have to be conducted, and we've seen Israel do that to get to the ceasefire with Hezbollah. Hamas, very unsophisticated, but a lot of close proximity.
Breaking news from Dow Jones. Johnson & Johnson signs licensing deal with Cottrell's program for autoimmune and allergic diseases.
Missiles and rockets themselves, but their proximity makes them very dangerous. The Houthis, well, the Houthis have space advantage. They're at least 1,200 miles away from Israel, but they have, I would say, a varied inventory of Soviet-style equipment, Russian-style equipment, and Iranian-style equipment. You know, you have to realize that the Houthis have been in a civil war for 10 years, and the Saudis had attacked the Houthis for almost those same 10 years. And you still have a Houthi capability to launch missiles throughout the Middle East. So they're not as sophisticated, they're not as good, let's say, as Israel, but I think because they've been resupplied by Iran so well, and they're getting some sophistication and the tyranny of distance, as we say, that gives them that capability to continue these attacks. And the hundreds and thousands of missiles they received during the Saudi war with the Houthis and Saudis from Iran, that inventory still exists.
What does, on that same note, Israel ramping up its retaliatory strikes, its counteroffensive there against the Houthis in Yemen, what does that look like? Do we have any idea at this point what it could look like?
Well, I can touch on some historic aspects of what has happened, and Israel needs to get serious. And I'm not saying they haven't been serious. No, they conducted 3 very good strikes. The most recent one on the 19th of December, a multi-wave strike. But what you're looking at here is to really stop this Houthi threat, especially with these ballistic missiles, is what we would call a sustained air campaign. That means more than one night, even if it's a multi-wave strike, more than one night of attacks. If I can put this in perspective real quick, back in 1991, you know, I was a young Marine target intel officer, and one of our targets, our most critical target in the war with Iraq, was the Scud missile launchers. They were launching them against our allies. They were launching against all our positions in Saudi Arabia before we conducted the ground invasion. So we, the United States, along with several of our allies, conducted a sustained air campaign for almost 30 days. Number one target, go after the Scud launchers, because if you don't have a launcher, you can't launch the missile. So we had that sustained air campaign. We had aircraft overhead all the time. We have a concerted intelligence collection effort for our number one target. You know how many Scuds we killed? 0. After 30 days of an air campaign. So that shows you the complexity of what Israel is facing. They have to put up intelligence assets. They have to make that timely. They have 1,200 miles to fly. So they have to put together a strike package that includes updated intelligence, tanker aircraft, and enough bombing aircraft to strike multiple targets almost simultaneous to the intelligence. It's a very complicated, and it has to be sustained effort if the Israelis want to take this out.
And the question here, because you have this ceasefire with Hezbollah that appears to still be intact, you have some movement on a potential ceasefire and hostage release deal with Hamas. So is that allowing Israel to focus more resources, more of its military resources there on the Houthis specifically?
That's a great question, Josh. And one, I want to draw a distinction between the types of fighting that Israel finds itself in. So it's a predominantly ground campaign in both Gaza and up in southern Lebanon. We have the ceasefire, so we're pulling that out. But those have been ground forces supported with airstrikes. And those airstrikes, they're coming and they're flying just a few minutes to their targets. If we look at what they have to fly to Yemen to strike the Houthis, we're talking hours of flights. We're talking hundreds of miles where they're going to have to fly. It'll spend hours to go to the target, hours to get back, not just a few minutes to take off and conduct strikes like they have been. The intelligence effort is going to be massive that they've got to do to collect in Yemen. However, even though you still have a ceasefire, you have Hezbollah still trying to violate it. So you have to collect and be aware of the threats coming there. You have Hamas, the hostage situation, still trying to get that information. So you've got a lot of challenges on the intelligence apparatus for Israel. This is a significant challenge. So the fighting's a little different. It's going to expand. I don't know if it opens up as much freedom for Israel to act militarily by relieving some of the pressure. And don't forget, Iran remains a viable threat throughout the region. And you've got to destabilize Syria right now.
Just to remind the audience that's watching, you can do a call-in through X Spaces on my X channel. So if you want, please follow along.
Does the U.S. step in? Does the U.S. involvement change in the strikes on the Houthis? Because we remember that the Houthis have been designated a terrorist organization by the U.S. So what is the U.S. role there? Do they take a more active role?
Well, I can't speak to what the current or the future administration will do. However, militarily, what my opinion would be is the U.S. must step in at this time. We have to provide at least intelligence support to the Israelis. And what I would charge is that we do some sort of coordination planning. And why would we do that? One, I talked about the Desert Storm challenge of hunting missiles down and trying to stop an enemy across a vast landscape. So when I look at that, intelligence is required, but this airspace deconfliction. The United States, unfortunately, we had a friendly fire incident and shot down one of our own F-18s last week. So let's imagine that we have U.S. aircraft flying, and then we have Israeli aircraft flying, and they're going after some of the same targets because we didn't coordinate that in advance. So there's a lot of confusion that can happen in that airspace. Secondly, we're both attacking, and we're both trying to achieve the same objectives, to stop the Houthi attacks, and to defeat the Houthis militarily from interfering with world trade. If we work together, if we deconflict our efforts, I think that'll create a better synergy on the military landscape to go against the Houthis. So, yeah, I'm not looking for war, but I would advocate, since we're already there, let's do a better planning and coordination effort with one of our allies.
One thing that's incredibly interesting is we heard from Iran's supreme leader, and he said now that they don't need Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, the Iranian proxies there to fight against Israel. Does that make sense? Because it sounds as though they had been saying, yes, they're fighting alongside them. Now they're saying they don't even need them. What does all of that mean? What do you make of all of that?
Well, I think that's some typical Iranian bluster, Josh, to be honest with you, because for decades, they have touted the partnership with their proxies all throughout the region, the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Shia militia in both Syria and Iraq. I think what you're seeing is that bluster coming from Iran, trying to push back on really, Iran has been beaten back in Syria, beaten back by the losses that Hezbollah has taken, that Hamas has taken. And so when you look at that, at one moment they're reaching out diplomatically, at the next moment they're trying this bluster. At one moment they're saying they're not going to pursue nuclear weapons, the next moment they say it's their right and they will continue to pursue nuclear weapons. I would argue that right now Iran is at its weakest point in decades, both militarily and perhaps politically. They're facing challenges, so they have to try to put on this face, if you will, but But if anything was going to happen, or if anyone needed to take military advantage of Iran, now is the time to do it, especially if they start to make a dash or a push for nuclear weapons. That, now is the time to act, if someone was going to, and I'm not advocating that at this time.
Yeah, and there's a lot of concern about the nuclear weapons.
I believe that the drone testing that's going on in the United States is by the Defense Department, and they are working out strategies where Iran will be attacked in 2025. The U.S. and Israel are going to work together, most likely, maybe even the UK. And the Ayatollah is going to be decapitated, figuratively and literally. I believe that's going to happen in 2025. And we're seeing a new dimension of warfare, which is drone warfare. It kind of starts seeing it in Ukraine. That whole, for 2 years, has been nothing but like a test bed for drone warfare. And now it's creeped up to the Middle East. And I would not be surprised that the United States and the Chinese are developing drone technologies for a naval battle. So that's where we're going with this. We're moving in a whole new dimension. It's very similar, like in World War I, planes were just coming out. You had the tank near the end of the war. There was a stalemate because of trench warfare, but then planes with dropping bombs and tanks were able to kind of break the lines. Something similar is happening. There was somewhat of a stalemate with missile technologies and jet warfare during the Cold War, right? Of course, we had these proxy hot wars, but I'm saying there was relatively a stalemate with the Cold War. It was about who could outspend who would go bankrupt first, right? Well, when the proxy hot war in Ukraine started, there was a little bit of you notice that there was a stalemate between Russia and Ukraine. There wasn't a lot of further advancement from Russia. There was a little bit of a retreat in some regards. And Ukraine couldn't get much gain. But the moment that the United States started giving more technologies and the use of these drones, it kind of shifted the battle space. So we're just seeing the early developments of this. Perfect example of what I'm talking about is look at the North Koreans that are fighting in Ukraine for Russia, all right? And they have kind of a 1950-esque mentality of how to do ground warfare. But by adding this new dimension of drone warfare, you're just picking off these soldiers easily. So war is different now. Remember the head of Hamas was killed by a drone, right? Remember the famous picture of him throwing the stick at the drone? This is where we're at. It's kind of like a new technology, a new use of technology in a battle space, very similar to World War I, all right, that is emerging. This is drone warfare. Once this technology gets better, and there's social learning between the drones, there's more autonomous AI use of these drones, we may not even need to be in parity for shipbuilding with China, because the drones would be able to knock out the ships from China. So naval battles could be radically different by drone warfare, either from the sky or even below the surface of the water. So we're moving into a new realm, kind of almost Star Wars-ish. There's like, I remember as a kid seeing Star Wars for the first time in the 70s. And these devices that people were traveling on were like hovering off the ground, I think they were called speeders. And, I remember as a kid, having one of the toys, where you put the action figure of Luke Skywalker with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then R2D2 and C3PO in the back, and you just scoot this thing on the floor. But we're at the point, though, where those speeders that you saw, let's say, in The Return of the Jedi, or even AT-ATs, during Empire Strikes Back. These things are like becoming very real. The United States could build these things. These things could work. These things could hover. These things, so what you saw in Star Wars is what we're right at the cusp at right now. Now, Lucas, when he wrote Star Wars, it was kind of dystopic. I didn't feel that there was a utopic side to it. Star Trek is a little bit more utopic. Star Wars is dystopic. It does seem to me that the world is seeming to, in terms of warfare, moving more towards like Star Wars than compared to Star Trek. But there's definitely a change of the battle space. And so because of that change of the battle space, the whole Cold War calculus may change. The whole mad strategy of nuclear weapons could change.
Nuclear bomb, things of that nature within Iran. So that's a question that we're going to continue to follow here as we get more developments from the IAEA. All right, Mark Chandler, anything else you want to add here before I let you go?
Well, Josh, we talked about this in this interview, just covered a lot of the threats across the region. So when we look at that, we're transitioning. It's just 20-something days, or less actually, before we have a new administration. That administration is going to inherit a chaotic Middle East. And so when you look at that, they have to go in with a strategic approach on day one. And that
Think about the words that he's using. Chaotic situation in the Middle East. And Trump was birthed under the star constellation, the astrology of chaos. You look at the way he manages things, it's through kind of like chaos and create an unknown. The next 4 years is going to be chaotic, very chaotic, and buckle up because it's going to be a wild ride. That's for sure.
Something that the Biden administration just failed to do until the end, and you can't at the end of time start to look strategically. So the Trump administration has to go in for that, has to put down what we're going to do and re-engage us militarily and diplomatically and create that environment for positive U.S. involvement there. And that's not going to be easy, especially with how Syria is fractured, and we don't know how that's going to make up. And then the Middle East isn't his only challenge that he's going to face. You look at the war in the Ukraine, and you look at what China's doing in North Korea and Iran nuclear weapons that we just discussed. So a lot of chaos is going to be coming in the next few weeks. That's going to end of administration and a beginning of administration coming in. So it's a lot to look for.
Yeah, and we'll be watching very closely.
Okay, so there's a lot breaking that I want to cover. There's an Al Jazeera clip that I want to play that was published 31 minutes ago. This is Israel striking an airport. I also want to cover this Azerbaijan airliner crash in Kazakhstan. Maybe before I do that though, let me just plug a couple products here. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Help support my work and your health. I have a great a great vitamin. It's a complex, a vitamin B complex. It has lots of B vitamins in it. The first few B vitamins are for your electron transport chain for your mitochondria, so it'll boost up energy levels. Vitamin B complex helps with your cellular metabolism, boost up your energy levels, but also vitamin B complex can help with your neurons and neural protection. Really important when you get older. If you're 40 plus, you need to be doing a little bit of resistance training, a little bit of cardio, right? Balancing and stretching exercises. Why? Because you need to activate those neurons and get the muscle coordination and activate the cerebellum. Really important. Because once someone if they have atrophy with their central and their peripheral nervous system, you're going to start having gait issues. You're going to start having memory issues. You're going to have muscle coordination issues. You see someone about age 65 plus or early 70s, they start shaking. Did you see the video with Tom Hanks on SNL? He started having signs of some sort of neurological problem. I think it was his left hand. Yeah, I think it was his left hand that was causing the issue. He was shaking. He was trying to hide it during the SNL skits. All right. I don't know how old is he. I think he's in his late 60s, early 70s. All right. You don't want that. All right. You need to protect your neurons once you turn 40 plus. And a great way to do that is to take supplementation like vitamin B complex. Also some of the other supplements that I'll go over, like ubiquinol and NAD+, right? But taking supplements that protect your neurons are really important to mitigate gait issues, memory loss issues, and muscle coordination problems. Really important. You need to protect those neurons, right? So please, take my advice, go to the store, go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get this vitamin B complex. You get a lot of vitamin B, different types of vitamin Bs in this complex. So it's dual purpose. So you get lots of different B vitamins in this complex, and you're helping protect your neurons, all right? Resveratrol stacks really well with C60 and ubiquinol and NAD+. Resveratrol is an antioxidant. It helps to improve your mitochondrial health, so you have more ATP, so you have more energy. In addition, resveratrol is really important to help get rid of senescent cells. When you get rid of senescent cells, you're getting rid of cells that just sit there collecting garbage. You don't want garbage. Get rid of those garbage cells. Go to my store and get the resveratrol. Again, resveratrol works better when you stack it with other strong antioxidants like C60 and ubiquinol. Myotrol. We've been talking about muscle coordination and activating nervous system. Well, when you get older, you start losing muscle mass. Myotrol helps you to maintain muscle mass and gain muscle mass for males and females. It also helps to improve your mitochondrial health. That means you're going to have more ATP for those muscles. If you're an athlete, taking Myotrol will actually improve your strength performance. All right, you're going to gain more muscle. This has flavonoids, polyphenols, and lignans. It'll help to soak up free radicals and help to bring down inflammation. This is a very good product, very high quality, and it's something that you should be doing, especially if you're 40 plus, because when you get older, you're going to lose muscle mass. When you start losing muscle mass, you start having back problems. And when you start having back problems and losing muscle mass and you're not moving around because your ATP is low, then guess what? You start losing bone density. And then you start shrinking and your back curvature starts to change and your body starts to move forward. Part of an anti-aging protocol is just to improve your back muscles. When you're improving your back muscles, you're reducing the chances of hurting your back. And not only that, you're maintaining a good posture, and so you're not losing stature. So go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the Myotrol, This is great if you're 40 plus, so you maintain and build muscle. And if you're an athlete and you're younger, this is a great way to supplement so you can gain muscle. And omega-3, really important to help with cardiovascular health. All right, omega-3 will lower your LDLs and increase your HDL. That means you're improving your good cholesterol and you're getting rid of your bad cholesterol. You're improving your total cholesterol number. By doing that, you're reducing the chances of collecting plaque in your vascular system. Taking this every day is reducing heart disease. You're increasing the chances of reducing heart disease. So please go to my store and take the omega-3. In addition, omega-3 can reduce inflammation systemically, which is part of the reason why it's part of my anti-Fauci protocol. So if you listen to what I've been doing for many decades, you're going to be able to slow down the aging process, improve your immune system, improve your endocrine system, improve your different bodily systems like your liver and your brain and your kidneys, your gut. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. All right, I want to play the Al Jazeera video and then we'll go to the Kazakhstan plane crash.
네가 그 안에서 총질을 하든 밖에서 야바이 짓을 하든 달라진 건 없어.
Welcome to the News Hour. We begin with breaking news. Israeli airstrikes have targeted Yemen's Sana'a International Airport in the Houthi-controlled capital, as well as the key port of Hodeidah. And according to Israeli media, other oil facilities and power plants were also hit. This attack follows a wave of Israeli strikes on Yemen last week. The Houthis have repeatedly launched attacks on Israel in support of Palestinians in Gaza. Hamda Salhou joining us from the Jordanian capital Amman because the Israeli government has banned Al Jazeera from reporting there. Hamda, what are you hearing on an official capacity about what's happening in Yemen right now?
Well, there hasn't been any sort of official reaction from the Israeli military, but whenever they do conduct these types of airstrikes in Yemen, they do often release a detailed statement afterwards with video footage showing all of the types of jets that were involved, including refueler jets, which we saw just earlier in the week in the last instance of Israeli airstrikes on the Yemeni capital. But let's remember some of the rhetoric we have heard from Israeli officials on the record, including Israel's prime minister and the defense minister, who have both said that Yemen will pay a price, that the Houthis will pay a price for the ballistic missiles that have been launched over the last week. You're looking at least 5 different incidents in which there were missiles fired by the Houthis into Israeli airspace, one of them actually making impact in Tel Aviv. So one official speaking to Israeli media has said, quote, that the Houthis do not understand force, but perhaps they will understand more force. And we're monitoring the situation, waiting for any official reaction from the Israeli government or the military.
Okay, Hamda, thank you so much for the reporting from Amman for the time being. Let's find out more and speak to Hussein Al-Bukhaiti, who's a journalist joining us from Sana'a. Can you tell us what you're hearing and seeing on your end?
Israeli has conducted today attacks and strikes against Sana'a and Hodeidah. 9 airstrikes have targeted Al-Kafif power station in Hodeidah and Ras Isa port. And 5 strikes have targeted Sana'a airport, mainly the control tower. And 3 airstrikes have targeted the power station. This area, especially the power station in Sana'a and in the Israeli regime have targeted this area before, and it seems that they cannot actually target any military installation in Yemen because they don't have the information about where those missiles that launched against Israel. That's why I believe they will keep continue and focusing on targeting civilian infrastructure like they did today.
Obviously, we're waiting for confirmation from the officials in Israel regarding these strikes. But what's been the impact on, you said that one of the targets was the international airport in Sana'a. What's been the impact on the airport? Is it still functioning?
At this point, I don't think it's still functioning because they have targeted this control tower. But I believe that Yemeni will restart the airport in the coming days.
Would this be considered an escalation by the authorities in Yemen?
I mean, all Israeli attack, either against Yemen or against Gaza, they see it as an escalation, and I believe that today Yemeni army might conduct a major attack against Israel, and we have seen the attacks that were before. I mean, Israeli air defense couldn't stop, as an example, some drones and as well the hypersonic missiles. But I believe that because they have targeted today Sana'a airport, I believe that Yemeni might launch attack against airports and ports in occupied Palestine.
The Israeli security establishment, according to Israeli media, has reported that Israel intends to increase the frequency of attacks on the Houthis. And also, as our correspondent was saying a moment ago, the Prime Minister as well as Defense Minister has said that Yemen will be paying a price for the missiles that the Houthis are launching from Yemen towards Tel Aviv. But how will Yemen prepare for a possible escalation?
I think that Yemeni army, they have entered the war and declared war against Israel because of their genocide in Gaza, and they have blocked the Red Sea. They did that, and they were well aware that the Israeli regime might respond. And I believe that the Yemeni army will continue the Zionist state of Israel, and they have just only the one demand to stop the war in Gaza. And I think that if Yemen will target Israel, they might use several missiles, not only by launching one drone or one missile. And let me make it clear that during the war, as an example, from Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates against Yemen, they have targeted Yemen with almost 300,000 airstrikes, most of it on Yemeni infrastructure. That's why the Israeli regime, by targeting those civilian infrastructure, is a clear message, and it shows that the Israeli regime actually cannot stop a Yemeni attack, and they cannot actually target any Yemeni military installation.
How are people in Yemen reacting to this, especially when civilian infrastructure is being targeted, as you say?
I mean, we've seen that when the protest goes in Sana'a on a weekly basis in support of Palestine, most of the people here, they are actually demanding the Yemeni army to expand its attack and to widen its attack against Israel, because they see that Yemen should continue with their attack to help the Palestinian people. That's why I do think that Yemeni here will see those Israeli airstrikes because they have gone through the war and they refuse to this type of airstrike during the Saudi-led coalition against Yemen.
Okay, Hussein Bughaiti, journalist speaking to us from Yemen. Thank you so much for joining us on Al Jazeera.
Like I said, Israel and the United States is setting for 2025 a major attack in Iran. And if it's what I think it's going to happen, it's going to be the decapitation of the Ayatollah. Before we go to the Kazakhstan crash, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video. Get this great stack that helps with your bones and your cardiovascular system. Get vitamin D3. It soaks up, it brings in calcium, so you're absorbing calcium. It's a gene expression cofactor, so your cells are expressing genes that it needs to express. And it also gets rid of cells that need to go into apoptosis. That's pretty important, especially during the cold season. All right? And it also helps to get rid of senescent cells, because the senescent cells have to go through the apoptosis pathway. But D3 is very important to stack with vitamin K2, MK7. All right? I have a very high quality K2. And when you stack these together, what will happen is that you're going to improve your bone density. all right? You're also improve the health of your joints and your tendons and your ligaments, all right? The best way to do this is to take this every day, drink some milk or take a calcium supplement, and do some resistance training, light resistance training, all right, if you have a sore joint. But if you can do a little bit more weight because you're healthy and you're okay, then do it. But by doing resistance training, you're sending those micro signals to the bone to be able to do remodeling. And by ingesting calcium and taking vitamin D to help to absorb that calcium and taking vitamin K2, what's going to happen is that you're going to help your body deposit and remodel your bones so they become stronger, so they become more dense, all right? That's going to help with preventing osteoporosis. When we get older, we start losing bone, all right? You got something called osteoclasts and osteoblasts. Osteoblasts deposit bone. Osteoclasts eat bone. Well, when we get older, more bone's eaten than actually deposited. But if you do some resistance training, put a little bit of stress on your bones, and take vitamin D3 and vitamin K2, and take calcium, either through a calcium supplement or through milk. How I do it is through milk. But when you do that, you're improving your bone structure, all right? Your bones remodel and shed and remodel anywhere from 5 to 7 years, depending on your own biochemistry, all right? But you're shedding and depositing and remodeling your bone every 5 to 7 years, all right? Well, if you are not very active, guess what? You're losing more bone, and you have less bone density, and you're increasing the chances of hip fractures and broken bones and brittle bones and all this stuff. You don't want that. So go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the vitamin D3 and the vitamin K2, stack it. This helps with bones, but it's dual purpose. It'll also help with your cardiovascular health. All right? So go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Now, since we're talking about dual purpose and cardiovascular health, olive leaf extract helps to improve your immune system and your cardiovascular health. How? It brings down inflammation, and it also helps to lower LDL levels and increase your HDL levels. That means that you're improving your total cholesterol and you're bringing down inflammation. You're improving your immune system and you're reducing the chances of plaque formation. So go to my store and get the olive leaf extract. And lastly, NAD+, really important, helps to boost up energy levels, helps to heal DNA damage, DNA that's in your nucleus and in your mitochondria. In addition, NAD+ helps to protect your neurons. So when you get older, you should be taking NAD+, you'll get more energy, you're healing your damaged DNA, you're helping your mitochondria, and you're protecting your neurons. So please go to my store and get the NAD+.
What has lasted 5,000 years was once almost lost.
New this morning, at least 29 people have survived a fiery crash of a passenger plane in Central Asia. At least 2 of those survivors are children, but dozens of other people who are also on board are feared dead. And we do want to warn you, this next video you may find disturbing. In it, you can see first responders and civilians rushing to help at the crash scene. Bloody passengers emerging from the wreckage and the front portion of the plane missing. CNN's Nada Bashir is in London with the latest.
Well, Kate, the Azerbaijan Airlines flight was traveling from the Azerbaijani capital Baku to Grozny in the Russian region of Chechnya, but it was forced to make an emergency landing around 2 miles from the Kazakh city of Aktau. Now, video circulating from eyewitnesses and those nearby the crash site shows that the plane was circling the airfield somewhat erratically before the crash, then bursting into flames as it hit the ground. Now, emergency response teams were quickly at the scene, and remarkably, there were a number of survivors, including at least 2 children, according to authorities, with video showing some of those injured emerging from the wreckage. But this is a moment of huge tragedy for those that did not survive. According to authorities, there were 67 people on board the flight, including 5 crew members. Preliminary reports, according to Russian aviation authorities, suggest that the pilot was forced to attempt an emergency landing following a bird strike. However, investigations are still ongoing. Kate?
We're beginning this hour in Kazakhstan, where authorities now say
All right,
at
so
least 38 people are dead.
This is a mosaic of CNN's news, clipped together. But at least the first report, they're saying bird strike. Now, the pictures that I saw, it looked like that plane was hit by shrapnel. Now, there are surface-to-air missile systems where they explode in the air, and it's kind of like a shotgun blast. So there's lots of fragments. It looks like that plane was hit by some sort of surface-to-air missile.
After an Azerbaijan Airlines plane crashed and burst into flames. Though there were 29 survivors, including 2 children, 11 are currently in critical condition. Now we have to warn you, this next video showing dazed survivors pulled from the wreckage may be disturbing for some to watch.
Самолет упал. Куда это? Сиди, пусть сидит.
The picture that I saw of this plane is the tail. The tail of the plane has all these kind of like shrapnel perforations. It's no bird does that.
And in this video right here posted to social media, you can actually see the plane descending to the ground and what appears to be the moment of impact. A Russian aviation watchdog says preliminary information suggests the pilot tried to make an emergency landing after a bird strike. Last hour, I spoke with CNN transportation analyst Mary Schiavo about the new developments. Here's some of that conversation.
So, why are they pushing the bird hit and not surface-to-air missile exploding and shooting shrapnel?
But what I'm seeing is it has to be more than a bird strike because the plane did not have what's called pitch control. In other words, how many degrees up or down the nose is. How much is the nose pointed up or how much is it pointed down? So it obviously had some damage to the pitch control, which could be from the trim system, which helps the pilot keep the nose in the right place up or down, or the elevator, which is in the back of the plane. So there had to be something additional going on.
That's the point I'm making, is that the tail looked like it was hit by shrapnel.
That the pilot had done what's called squawking. In other words, you put your radio or you put your equipment on and it sends a certain signal, which is 7700, which says you've got a serious onboard problem. And then also when looking at a publicly available flight radar system online, you can see that the pilot fought with this plane for some time before choosing to land it at another airport. And so this wasn't something that happened and then the plane was brought down. For example, on landing, you get a flock of birds. And the altitude makes me wonder, would the birds been at that altitude? But the pilots really fought with this plane for some time and then did a figure 8 before landing. They did 2 circles and then tried to land. So it appeared that they were trying to gain control of this aircraft, and it really put quite a fight up on this Embraer 190.
It's remarkable that you can, just by looking at some of that publicly available flight data, tell what that story may have been as it was playing out. Mary, though, at least 29 people, as far as we understand, survived this crash, though. That seems truly extraordinary.
Well, and it's reminiscent of other, accidents that we talked about here on CNN, or that I've worked as an aviation lawyer and doing investigations. And we see crashes, more and more crashes where people survive because of the safety features built into aircraft. They're less, there's more survivability, there's less flammability. The ability to get out. And we have actually seen many crashes where the plane was completely destroyed, and in several cases, everyone got off, or in some cases, there were just a few deaths, including cartwheeling like this as the plane did when it came in. And there are pictures circulating showing holes punctured in fuselage, and some people are saying, well, that looks like bullet holes. Actually, in doing accident investigations, I can tell you that looks like damage from the explosion of the aircraft when it exploded on the ground. So those don't look like bullet holes to me on the pictures that are circulating around. And, clearly this pilot...
I think it's shrapnel from an air-to-surface missile. Now, what happened? I don't believe a bird did this.
There are two of them on this plane, could not get this nose up, which suggests you don't have pitch control, which is reminiscent of other accidents, even the 737 MAX 8 crashes in Indonesia and in Ethiopia. The final sequence looked very much like this, a dive into the ground. So because there are several, many survivors, which is fortunate, and because of the newer plane, they'll have newer black boxes, flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder, it'll have all the parameters, and I think they will have their answer of what happened fairly soon. However, they may not have their answer very soon as to whether it was a bird strike or something else. There's lots of speculation. It might have been a drone, but they will have to carefully examine the plane, the engines, the windscreen. Ordinarily, birds take out your engines or engine, and you have time to tell air traffic control. You have time to get a mayday call in. You have time to communicate and tell what happened.
And thanks again to...
My hair has always been straight, but with like a slight wave, a bit of frizz, dried ends, which according to TikTok means naturally wavy hair that just isn't treated right. So we took the pros quiz.
And thanks again to Mary Schiavo for that analysis.
We are tracking the aftermath of a fiery plane crash in Kazakhstan.
So before we continue with CNN, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the great supplements that I offer. I have nattokinase. I've been adding that to my stack. This is fibrinolytic, so it'll break up clots, but it also brings down LDL levels and increases your HDL levels, so it's improving your total cholesterol. So this will help with your cardiovascular health. This is synergistic with omega-3 and also synergistic with other cardiovascular supplements that I've been talking about, like the vitamin D3 coupled with K2, MK7. So when you stack these together, you're increasing the health of your blood vessels, all right? You're reducing the chances of building additional plaque. You're reducing the chances of clotting, right? And if you get the longevity cardiovascular box that I offer on my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and you take that on a regular basis, you take that regularly, and over time, what you're gonna notice is that whatever blockage that you do have, it's gonna reduce. But you have to be diligent, and you have to do this for about a year, all right? So if you think you have blockage, and you get like an ultrasound on your carotid or other area of your body, and they know that you have a certain blockage, let's say 50% blockage, and you start following the protocol that I've been talking about, you can bring down that blockage maybe from 50% to 25% or to 10%. You won't be able to get rid of it 100%. But the thing is that you'll be able to reduce it, reduce the blockage. And by reducing the blockage, you're reducing the chances of turbulence that causes clotting. You're reducing the chance of a breakage of a piece of plaque that may cause an occlusion. And you're reducing your blood pressure. So you're reducing the stress on your heart. Your heart remodels, and it's remodeling because of the pressure it has to fight, right? So you want to reduce that. You want to reduce that high blood pressure, right? So natural kinase will help that, right? It'll break up clots and it'll help to control your lipid profile. And that's one component of improving your cardiovascular health. In addition, ubiquinol. Ubiquinol is the best bioavailable CoQ10 that you can get. This is a very high quality product that I offer. I've been taking ubiquinol for a very long time. All right, why? It's an antioxidant. It helps to increase your energy levels, and it helps to protect your neurons. So when you get older, like I said, you should be protecting your neurons. CoQ10 does that. Ubiquinol is the highest bioavailable CoQ10 that you can get. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the ubiquinol that I offer. This is something that I have in my stack that I take every day. All right? Now, this is synergistic with C60, with resveratrol, with NAD+, works really well. So please stack with ubiquinol. And improving your immune system and your cardiovascular system, you can do this all in one shot. A great way to do it is to stack ashwagandha root and turmeric. Why? Turmeric is an antioxidant, so soaking up free radicals. And when you soak up free radicals, you're reducing the chances of oxidized LDL. Turmeric also brings down inflammation. By bringing down inflammation, you're improving your immune system, but you're also reducing the chances of further plaque formation. And ashwagandha root controls your cortisol levels. By controlling your cortisol levels, you're bringing down that pro-inflammatory response. So you're improving your immune system, and you're controlling your blood glucose levels. And by controlling your cortisol and blood glucose levels, you're reducing inflammation, helping your immune system, and reducing the chances of further plaque formation. Please go to my store, take ashwagandha and turmeric together. They stack really well, and this works really well with natural kinase, D3, and K2. So, and then C60 to be able to soak up more of those free radicals. And by doing that, you are improving your immune system and your cardiovascular system at the same time. All right. You know, it's basic stuff, but a lot of people, you know, just not paying attention.
Miraculously, authorities say 29 people, including 2 children, survived the disaster, but at least 38 others were killed. The flight was traveling from the capital of Baku to southern Russia when it crashed near the city of Cottrell. One witness said bloodied survivors emerged from the wreckage of the plane, which burst into flames as it hit the ground. An aviation watchdog says a bird strike may be to blame for the emergency, but the cause of the crash is still unknown. Former FAA safety inspector and CNN safety analyst David Susi joins us now from Denver, Colorado. David, happy holidays to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Obviously, a tragedy here in this crash. Much is still unknown as the investigation has begun, but what do you make of what we do know? And do you think that a flock of birds could have been the factor here for the plane crash?
Well, I think it's way too early to make that determination as to what caused it or not, but the crash site and the movement of the aircraft does not indicate to me that it was a bird strike set or bird strike or a flock of birds that caused the problem. The aircraft not only went up and down like the power issues, but it was going left and right. It was pretty much out of control for a good amount of time before the accident. So I'm not there with the bird strike yet, but it certainly is a tragedy, and it's a tragic accident to have had to experience that, for these folks to come through that for 20 minutes to wait to see what's going to happen, and then to have survivors is truly a miracle on Christmas Day.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. That's, I would imagine, extremely rare for a plane crash to have survivors, much less some 29 people. And looking at video from the site of the crash, some people actually just walking
out of the plane, it appeared that the fortunate ones were sitting in the back. What do you make of that?
Well, this particular flight path and the nose down attitude of the aircraft when it hit the ground, it quickly broke in half. And so what happens is the energy, this is much like you said, it's very rare, but in the Sioux City accident, which is many years ago, the aircraft did something similar, which is where the tail breaks off of the aircraft. So all the energy from that impact is transferred and absorbed by the front part of the aircraft, wings forward. The tail of the aircraft, you can see in some of these videos, is a long, long distance from where the initial impact site is. And that energy is all dissipated by the time it comes to rest. There are survivors, in this case, 22 survivors that were able to walk away from that tail section.
This is Azerbaijan Airlines. The last major episode that they experienced was in 2005 when an AN-140 plane crashed shortly before takeoff, killing 18 passengers. It's known to have a pretty strong safety record, flying in and out of the EU and meeting their standards there. It's an Embraer 190 plane. What are investigators going to be looking at as they try to put the pieces together with the black box in particular?
Well, as you said, Azerbaijan is one of the top safety airlines in the world, really. They've done a great job of keeping their safety record up. The next steps on this, because it's a modern aircraft, there will be flight recorders, there will be data recorders. Everything that needs to be recorded from that flight will be on there, and we'll be able to get some information out of there as soon as the investigation is concluded. But that would be the start. Of course, the first thing on any accident site you do is the safety of those survivors and the passengers there. And secondarily, you can see that there's the videos, a lot of people coming up to help and assist. And there are a lot of hazards and dangers there. And you notice a lot of them are not wearing masks or don't have protective gear on. And so the safety of those folks is really important as well. So the managing the site is what they're focused on right now, is to make sure that everyone's safe that is there and clearing that area out. The next steps of this is going to be continuing to make it secure and safe, and then due respect to those folks who have passed or in the accident. Those have to be taken care of as well, respectfully.
Yeah, later today after the crash, the Azerbaijan Prosecutor General's office said in a statement that it opened a criminal investigation. In terms of investigating how this happened, in addition to the black box, do you expect investigators to be perhaps speaking with surviving passengers, given how rare that was, just to get more insight into what happened, perhaps the moment before the plane actually crashed?
Yeah, the difficult thing about interviewing survivors is that the stories are going to be very, very different, and they can actually dissuade you from a certain investigation. So it's important that investigators look to the facts and keep it that way. With regard to the criminal investigation, Azerbaijan and the folks in that region do see every aircraft accident as a criminal investigation. That's how they started. The FAA, we don't do that. We don't bring in the FBI or anybody else until we see other issues that have to do with other than the aircraft operations or the mechanics of it. So over there, it's not uncommon for them to open it as a criminal investigation.
That is an important detail to note. David Susi, thank you again for joining us. Really appreciate the time.
Of course, thank you.
We begin this hour with that breaking news of a deadly plane crash in Kazakhstan.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to another clip that is discussing this. This was posted an hour ago by Sky News.
New this morning, at least 29 people have survived a fiery crash of a passenger plane.
We start this hour with developing news on the plane crash in Kazakhstan. Reuters is now reporting that 4 sources in Azerbaijan say the aircraft was downed by Russian air defense systems. 38 people were killed when the Azerbaijan Airlines plane crashed.
Why was it that CNN was pushing? I'm just asking a question, all right? I don't have an answer for this. Why was CNN pushing bird strike? But then later, it's Russians used a surface-to-air missile. Not hitting the plane, but creating a shrapnel field that hit the plane. Not the missile hitting the plane, but the shrapnel hitting the plane. Why? Why is there a disparity of coverage on this?
of Aktor. Earlier, all 4 of Moscow's airports were closed. They've now reopened, but no reason has been given. This footage, filmed by a passenger aboard the Azerbaijani aircraft, shows the final moments before the plane crashed. The man filming the video did survive and is heard praying in Arabic, saying Allahu Akbar, God is great, beforehand. Oxygen masks are seen being released, and the flight attendant is heard calming passengers and urging them to wear their seatbelts. The Azerbaijan Airlines plane was carrying 67 people in all from Baku in Azerbaijan, flying along the western shore of the Caspian Sea to Grozny, which is in the Chechen area of southern Russia. Russian news agencies said the flight was rerouted due to fog, and it came down on the opposite shore in Aktor in Kazakhstan. Let's go to Rob Harris, who's in the newsroom. And Rob, what's the latest then on these reports coming out of Russia that seem to suggest that it wasn't bad weather, it wasn't a malfunction or a bird strike, but it could have been a Russian air defense system that brought the plane down?
Yes, these claims casting doubt on one of those official allegations from Russia that there was indeed a bird strike. And if you see the images of the plane, there did appear to be signs of, from the face of it, bullets or indeed shrapnel that hit the plane. And we are now hearing from the sources in Azerbaijan, talking to the Reuters news agency, believing that Russian air defences were responsible. They are trying to repel drones from Ukraine as the war does go on. And one of those sources saying that this preliminary investigation is pointing to the communication systems also being paralysed by electronic warfare systems on that approach into Grozny. Now, this source is very clear to say that no one is claiming it was done on purpose, but it does cast into doubt those claims from the Russian side. And we did see this plane that did veer off course for several hundred miles yesterday when it was heading from the Azerbaijani capital Baku to the Russian city of Grozny. Now, the initial thoughts from the Azerbaijani president was the fact weather might be to blame. Then Russia's aviation watchdog did talk about an emergency landing being attempted due to the bird strike, but then this steep descent did see was seen before the plane did crash to the ground. Now, it has been a day of official mourning today across Azerbaijan. National flags were lowered, signals sounded from ships and trains, and a moment of silence was observed nationwide. And beyond Azerbaijan as well, there are investigations taking place. One aviation security firm, Osprey Flight Solutions, said that they've actually issued more than 200 alerts regarding drone attacks and air defense systems in Russia during the war. But as for the official word from the Kremlin, they're still saying that the investigation is ongoing, that it should be something that the special aviation authorities should be behind. There shouldn't be any hypothesis at this early stage. So that's certainly the message from the Kremlin. Indeed, Vladimir Putin speaking yesterday, saying that he'd sent the condolences and offered help with the investigation. But from Reuters sources, they are certainly saying that they do believe that Russian air defences were responsible for the downing of the plane, with 38 of 67 people on board killed. And we have heard from the survivors, some of them who actually were filming the scenes of the plane as they managed to miraculously escape.
Yes, and Rob, we've just in the past few moments already been speaking. The Kazakh vice premier has said today there is no official explanation as of yet as of what happened. But look, given Russia's situation with Ukraine, given the historic situation in Chechnya itself, which it hasn't exactly been the most peaceful, stable place the past couple of decades, and that's where the flight was heading to, people are inevitably going to ask questions about this being something other than, as I said at the start there, and as you just reminded people, a bird strike or a malfunction of some description. People are going to perhaps zone in on those other possibilities as we are experiencing right now.
Yeah, one expert I've been speaking to suggesting actually could be questions over the competence of those Russian air defences in terms of dealing with the situation. For many, it will bring back memories as well as Malaysian flight MH17 from 10 years ago that was shot down over Ukraine. A reminder, of course, that this war has been going on for 10 years. a lot of folks obviously on the full-scale invasion for the last 2.5 years, but it shows the precariousness of the region.
I was thinking about that too. This is the plane being downed years ago over Ukraine. I think that was during the Obama's administration. Before we go to MSNBC and their take on it, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Help support my work and your health. I have lots of different supplements. These are supplements that I take as a daily routine to help slow down the aging process, improve my immune system and my other bodily systems. Vitamin C is very important to take for your immune system, especially during the cold season. If you're not feeling well, take a double dose. Make sure you drink it with filtered water. This has magnesium in it, so this will help to boost up that immune system. But vitamin C is a dual purpose vitamin, all right? It also helps with your skin. It'll cross-link with collagen. So if you go to my store and get the collagen, all right, the collagen peptide, it's a powder. You get a big scooper, you mix it with food or with water or a smoothie, take it every day. And what this will do is it'll cross-link with the vitamin C that you're taking when you drink it with filtered water. Drink about 32 to 64 ounces throughout the day of filtered water. You get the best results. So the collagen will cross-link with the vitamin C and help with the dermal layer, all right? And what will happen is that your skin will be healthier. The middle part of your skin will be healthier. Now the topical part for improving your skin is to take the structural nanosilver gel and put it on your face daily, and like right before you go to bed, and then exfoliate in the morning, right? So you put this on your skin at night, exfoliate in the morning. In the morning, mix this with your breakfast or whatever. Take your vitamin C, drink throughout the day the filtered water, 32 to 64 ounces of filtered water, and what will happen is you're going to, in about 30 days, you're going to actually improve your skin, all right? In addition, if you add C60 and resveratrol, you're improving the basal layer where your new skin cells are coming from, because that's where your adult stem cells are, from the basal layer for your skin. And your skin, it's just shedded. So I just gave you a recipe how to improve the topical part of your skin, the central part of your skin, and the basal layer part of your skin. I am the most comprehensive on how to improve your health than there of any person out there, right? There's no one that is not even Tech Bro that's the anti-ager. I'm the most comprehensive on this, right? So you can buy these products individually. You can buy the structural nanosilver. It's a dual purpose product. It helps with your skin, it helps to heal a wound, and it will help to neutralize pathogens, all right? You can buy the vitamin C separately. You can buy the collagen separately. Not just for your skin, this helps with your bones and your joints, taking it regularly, and your hair and your nails. But if you are more focused on the skin care part of this, there's the anti-aging skincare box that I have for beginners, where you get the structural nanosilver gel, the vitamin C, and the collagen, all right? If you want to get the advanced box, you also get the C60 and the resveratrol, all right? Because the C60 soaks up the free radicals at the basal layer. The resveratrol also is an antioxidant to soak up free radicals. You're improving the mitochondria of those cells in the basal layer, and what you're doing is you're getting rid of senescent cells. So you're improving your basal layer too. So go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the structural nanosilver gel, the collagen, the vitamin C, individual products if you want, or if you really want to improve your skin, get the anti-aging skin care box that I have, either the beginners or the advanced. It's up to you. But the process works, it's up to you to follow. All right, so MSNBC on this issue here.
We begin this hour with the tragic plane crash that killed dozens in Kazakhstan yesterday. This morning, speculation is growing about what caused the flight with 67 people on board to plummet and crash into a field in a fiery blaze. Now, both Ukraine and a top aviation security firm say Russia is likely to blame. But the Kremlin is pushing back and urging people to avoid jumping to conclusions until an investigation is complete.
All right, so
Daniel Hamilton joins us now.
MSNBC published this about 59 minutes ago.
London, Daniel, what do we know about the investigation so far, and who is even leading it?
Yeah, well, the Azerbaijan Airlines aircraft that crashed in Kazakhstan, killing 38 people, might have been caught, in fact, by Russia. In the moment, Russia was launching and activating its air defense systems to shoot down a Ukrainian drone. This was the topic of much speculation over the past 24 hours, but it is now being supported by some industry experts. NBC spoke to the chief intelligence officer of the aviation security firm Osprey, which has a number of partnerships with airlines around the world, as well as contracts with the U.S. government. And they say that they've reviewed the footage of the wreckage, which appears to show holes in and damage potentially caused by shrapnel. They've reviewed the footage filmed by some of the passengers in the plane while it was still in the air. And they say they've also taken into account the testimonies of some of the survivors, and there are nearly 30 of them, who say that they saw and heard what appeared to be an explosion and shrapnel that passed through the fuselage in the cabin area, and this has led them to conclude that this was not caused by bad weather and it was not caused by a bird strike, as had been suggested by the Russian state media. Take a listen to what he had to say.
At the time of this.
All right, so Russia, CNN was saying that. So what? Russia and CNN are saying the same thing? Something's weird about CNN and how they're covering this.
Russian air defense forces in the North Caucasus Federal District, which includes Chechnya, were defending against a Ukrainian military-grade weaponized drone attack. The examination of the damage to the aircraft leads Osprey to assess that the likely cause of the event is a misidentification and damage sustained from that.
Well, and of course, the question was put to the Kremlin, and the spokesperson, Dmitry Peskov, said that the investigation is still underway, and it would be incorrect to comment at this time, saying, quote, that it would be incorrect to, quote, to make any hypotheses before the investigation is complete. To answer your question, Azerbaijan will be, of course, involved in this investigation. Kazakhstan, of course, it happened on its soil, and so it continues. But again, Russia pushing back any suggestion that they were involved in the downing of this aircraft.
Daniel, I've seen some of those videos that are, reportedly from inside the plane while it's going down, and then immediately after. It's really remarkable anyone was able to walk away from this crash. What do we know more about the survivors and then those who didn't make it off the flight?
Among those killed so far who have been identified, there are people from Kazakhstan, Russia, and Azerbaijan. And you're right, these images are remarkable. You're seeing at some point someone just stumbling out of this plane crash, while others, of course, were burned to death, really. The majority of the 29 people who survived were taken to hospital, and the latest official numbers that were given to us, 11 of those 27 taken to hospital are in intensive care, 2 in critical condition. It's remarkable that 2 children also survived, but the good news here is that there are 2 planes headed for Azerbaijan very soon, with 14 of those survivors on board. Christina?
Okay, so before we go to the next video, I wanted to just do a market recap here. The S&P 500 is trading at 6,041. VIX is trading at 1474. Euro USD pair is trading at 1.04. Oil is trading below $70 a barrel. Bitcoin long ETF BITO is trading at 23.49, and the USD Japanese yen is trading at 158. So in terms of equities, you know, relatively stable for near year end. Probably the equity market's going to close out at year end at probably just a little bit above 6,000. So it'd be a good year in equities. Before we go to the next video, make sure you go to my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and help support my work and your health. I have a great supplement called the Good Night Formula. Good Night Formula is something you should be taking to get into 3 cycles of REM sleep and deep sleep so you consolidate memory, detoxify your central nervous system, and be well rested in the morning. If you take this regularly and you get into the 3 cycles of REM sleep, then what you're doing is that you're allowing for your central nervous system to heal, you're consolidating memory, and you're not being sleep deprived. Chronic sleep deprivation will lead to memory loss and early onset of dementia if it's chronic. In addition, chronic sleep deprivation will build up toxins in your central nervous system. That's bad, all right? So part of a better health protocol, a protocol that improves your immune system and a protocol that slows down the aging process is getting proper sleep, regular proper sleep. That's one of the major vectors. Other is proper supplementation, proper diet, exercise, stretching, mindfulness, right? So when you do these things and you holistically approach this, then you're going to improve your health. So please go to my store and get the Good Night Formula, take it, improve your memory, and improve your sleep pattern. Really important. A lot of people are sleep deprived. They're not getting enough REM cycle sleep and deep sleep. NAC is a supplement that I've added to my stack. Why? It brings up glutathione levels, which is another pathway to soak up free radicals. It's synergistic with C60, it's synergistic with ubiquinol, it's synergistic with NAD+ and resveratrol. Now, NAC will also help to detoxify your liver and your kidney, especially if you take acetaminophen, all right? And NAC will calm down your nervous system, so reduce anxiety. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the NAC, and start taking this as a daily stack to improve your health, especially boosting up those glutathione levels. Now, since we're talking about detoxifying the liver and the kidney, you should be detoxifying your body, especially, you know, it's near the end of the year, beginning of next year, right? Make it a routine to detoxify your body. Zeolite is a great way to do it. Zeolite is a negatively charged molecule that will attach to positively charged heavy metals, toxins, and chemicals. By taking zeolite, you can get rid of forever chemicals. You've heard of PFAS and PFAS and all these different forever chemicals. Well, if you take zeolite, you can bind in those chemicals, those toxins. Zeolite will bind to them and allow you to urinate them out in about 6 to 8 hours, okay? Take 2 small drops underneath your tongue on a daily basis and drink filtered water, all right? Once a day, do that. Do that year round as a maintenance. Some people don't want to take zeolite year round. Well, you can take it once, do a detox once or twice a year. And the way you do that is take about 4 or 5 small drops underneath your tongue and drink filtered water, right? Drinking the filtered water is really important. And by doing that, you're binding the zeolite to the toxins and being able to excrete it out through urination, right? You do that each day, 4 or 5 drops underneath your tongue, drink the filtered water once a day until the bottle's done, and then you do that once or twice a year. It's up to you how you want to do it. The best way to do it is a maintenance of 2 drops underneath your tongue, drink the filtered water year round. That's the best way to do it, but it's up to you. So go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, take the zeolite, detoxify your body, improve your body. So by getting rid of these toxins, right, and heavy metals and stuff, what will happen is you're going to be improving your endocrine system. You're going to be improving your immune system. You're going to improve the cell's performance. And when you're improving the cell's performance, you're improving the tissue performance that improves the organ performance. So it's attacking this at the cellular level. So please, go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get a good night formula, get the REM cycle that you need for proper sleep. NAC, boost up those glutathione levels to soak up free radicals, and the zeolite to soak up those toxins, all right? And filter your water. Get rid of the fluoride, filter your water, and stop eating processed foods, all right? Be a little bit more discerning on what kind of foods that you eat. That are healthier, that don't have as many pesticides and toxins, and you know, processed foods are not good. You know, eating too much processed food is bad for your system, all right? You can improve your health. There's no magic bullet. If someone says just take one thing, there is no one thing. Your body doesn't work on just one thing. Your body has a complex biochemistry feedback, right? And so you have to, you know, do these different vectors. Some of it is exercise, some of it's supplementation, some of it's proper diet. And when you do this, you can improve your health. But there's no one magic bullet. Anyone says that there's a magic bullet is bullshit. All right. So with that said, let's where was I going? All right, that's the plane crash, and I wanted to go to, where was it? There we go. No. There's this airport shooting in Phoenix. So let's go to Fox now.
Say goodbye to Slack because chat's here and it's inside ClickUp. Everything you need in chat is here. Like DMs.
Those kinds of catastrophic events, those tragedies in the community, just the loss is heartfelt from our office.
This is Texas,
that we're making
Houston, Texas.
Strides to ensure that doesn't happen again.
I'm not really sure what's going on.
The question was that a lot of parents are enablers. A lot of parents are giving their young
Houston police announced DWI task force.
And my answer to that in English is that we have to be responsible. Introducing alcoholic beverages to a preteen, a teen, only sets them up to make bad decisions later when the parents aren't around. So in Spanish, yes, as parents, los papaces.
Okay. Israel hit.
Houston police giving the latest updates on their DWI task force that they are launching today. We are going to take our final break of the hour. We're keeping an eye on Air Force One just landed out in St. Croix.
All right, I found a video about this airport shooting.
So we'll be keeping an eye on that right here for you on Live Now from Fox. We'll take a final break right here.
My name is Josh Breslow, and I'm here for the next several hours to bring you all of your top stories and live events from across the country and across the world. We are following this developing story coming in out of Phoenix. Take a look at this video from our Fox 10 Phoenix team. Several people shot, another person stabbed over at Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport. All of this playing out overnight. I do want to bring in Dominique Newland with our Fox 10 Phoenix team, joining us live with the latest from the airport. And Dominique, there is a lot to this situation and really still a lot left to figure out.
There is, Josh. Good morning. 3 crime scenes, really to be exact, and unfortunate news for travelers on Christmas evening. Not something you want to hear, but the good news is airport operations have returned to normal. No flights were affected, but this is a look at what we're seeing so far. So we're here in Terminal 4. If you are headed to B and C gates, currently blocked off, as you can see, right behind these gates. There's an evidence marker. There's crime scene tape up, and we've seen investigators go back and forth taking photos due to this triple shooting shooting that happened last night. And just beyond these gates, if you're not familiar with Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport, is those gates as well as restaurants and some other shops. So this is affecting employees as well. We've seen this morning who have called in for work. So as we head this way, that was one of the crime scenes I showed you. There's going to be another off to our right that's currently blocked off, and a Phoenix police officer currently guarding this scene. So let me give you a little recap what all happened last night. This happened at around 9:45. Phoenix police airport officers, they responded to a restaurant here within Terminal 4 outside of the security checkpoints for reports of a shooting. You may have some video from that scene last night, and that's where they found a group of people who got into a fight that escalated to one person pulling out a handgun. The officers found 3 victims, 1 adult female, 2 adult males suffering from gunshot wounds. Those 3 victims, they were taken to a local hospital. We're told the female, she currently has life-threatening injuries. The 2 males, they're listed as stable, non-life-threatening. But officers at a separate scene in a parking garage, they also found an adult male with a stab wound, as well as a juvenile female. They were both detained in that parking garage. And what we know so far, Josh, is currently no arrests have been made, but all the weapons have been retrieved in this case. But last night, when all this was happening, you know, airport operations here at Terminal 4, it was temporarily closed, as well as the Phoenix Sky train that a lot of travelers use to get to different terminals. That was paused here at Terminal 4 just as a precaution due to the many crime scenes and just the amount of people that were involved in this case, a total of 5 that we're hearing.
All right, Dominique, yes, so much to this investigation here. We're going to stay in touch and, of course, gather the latest information as we get it. Dominique, thank you again for being here with us.
You bet. Thanks, Josh.
And I do want to take you out to some of this video that also came in from our Fox 10 Phoenix team. You can see police there on your screen tackling a guy wearing no shirt that is also at the airport over in Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. Again, they take him to the ground and then take him into custody. Police saying this was unrelated, but also kind of related. They do say that this guy apparently showed up because he received a text message that said that there was an active shooter inside of the airport. They say he showed up with weapons in an attempt to take down that active shooter. Again, you can see him on the ground there. This video provided by Fox 10 Phoenix as he is handcuffed and taken into custody. Police holding a news conference a bit earlier on this morning to break down all of this here. I do want to play it for you on Live Now from Fox.
All right, everybody all good? Okay. All right. Thank you guys for coming. I just have some brief information on what we can tell right now. First of all, I'd like to tell everybody, the community, that this incident has been resolved. It was resolved very quickly. There's nobody outstanding. We are not looking. We do not believe that there's any suspects out there outstanding. I want to put everybody at ease. Of course, this is scary.
All right, I want to go to another breaking news, but it was last night. This is dealing with New York City. So let's play that. There's just a lot of things that are happening near the end of the year. You know, it's sad. A lot of trauma, a lot of carnage.
It does work like that.
We want to make you aware of some breaking news. We're staying in New York City. Take a look at this headline by the New York Post there. A taxi has hit multiple pedestrians outside of the iconic Manhattan Macy's on Christmas Day here. So this is right in the heart of Manhattan in Midtown. Well, our colleagues at Fox 5 in New York, they're all over this story. Reporter Kendall Green on the scene. This is what he is hearing, and this is what he is seeing. Let's listen.
He just arrived on scene and has the very latest. As I can see, the cab behind you, they're mangled. What do we know?
Hey, good evening, Bianca. We just arrived here just moments ago, but yeah, this cab right here is at the middle of the scene. Of course, it's mangled, but just to give you a frame of reference where we are, we're about a block away from Macy's on the north end of 6th Avenue, not far from Harold Holiday Market, which is very busy with foot traffic, lots of tourists around the holidays, especially here on Christmas Day. But what we know so far, an apparent yellow cab driver, according to reports, jumped the curb, hitting multiple pedestrians here along 34th and 6th Avenue. FDNY report 3 people were hit. one seriously injured around 4 this evening, about an hour ago, according to police. Now, right now, we're here on scene. We see a few onlookers, a few police officers. There's just here tended to the scene, but the people that were hit were told they were already transported to the hospital with medics. We know that one person was seriously injured. Now, how this cab driver ended up in the crowd full of people so far, unclear, and that's the latest that we have right now. But we have a bunch of onlookers here, a bunch of police that attended to the scene, and as soon as we learn more about how this happened, we'll get you those details. But for now, that's the latest here in Herald Square. Kendall Green, Fox 5 News. Bianca?
Yeah, Kendall, I know this is quite a busy area, especially for the holidays. Is it still busy right now, or has that died down since it is Christmas Day?
Yeah, it's still quite a bit of folks walking around. I mean, Macy's is right here across from us. The H&M is right here across from us. Lots of foot traffic. They've been here all day. So, of course, everybody's wondering how this taxi driver lost control and somehow hit all these people.
Yeah, we'll keep those people in our thoughts, especially on this holiday. Kendall, thank you so much for the update on that.
Gotcha.
Meanwhile, speaking about...
All right, we thank Fox 5 New York there. We just have some more footage from the scene itself that Kendall Green and his photographer gathered there. I mean, take a look at that. New York City yellow cab there. I mean, the entire front of it is just mangled. And it just goes to show you the force of the impact here. You see NYPD have taped off the area, and this happened in one of the busiest spots of New York City. This is near Herald Square. This is near Macy's, the iconic Macy's. On Christmas Day, no less. So we're learning this was at 34th Street and 6th Avenue. The total patient count, 3 patients. One was a red tag patient transported to Cornell Hospital. And then there were 2 yellow tag patients transported to Bellevue Hospital. So obviously, it's much, much too early to know the extent of some of these pedestrians' injuries or the driver's, intention or lack of intention, or what exactly happened, I should say.
You know what's really strange when it comes to like ER type stuff? Full moons, on a full moon, all right, crazy stuff happens. And also during the holidays, there's, these incidences where there's like mass casualty type stuff. I want to pivot to I-24, but before I do that, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Max 35 or Max 14. Take a teaspoon a day, swish it in your mouth, gargle, about 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and then swallow. This is going to help to neutralize pathogens and also maintain the mucosal barrier. Take it every day. If you're not feeling well because of the cold season, take a tablespoon or 2 a day. Again, I also have a structural nanosilver gel in a dispenser form. You use it the exact same way as the tube form. And C60. C60 is a very strong antioxidant. You can get it in avocado oil, MCT coconut oil, or extra virgin olive oil. C60 will soak up free radicals, boost up the health of your mitochondria so you'll have more ATP. And when you do that, the cells are going to perform better. There's going to be less stress. And then over time, you're going to start seeing that your tissues are performing better, your endocrine system is performing better, your immune system is performing better, your neurons are performing better, because your neurons need really healthy mitochondria to create and shoot off those neurotransmitters. So please, go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the C60. C60 is a major part of my pillar of anti-aging and boosting up your immune system. The first pillar is taking Max 35 or Max 14, all right? Neutralize pathogens, that's the first pillar. Soak up free radicals with C60, the second pillar. And then bring down the pro-inflammatory cytokines is the third pillar. And you do that with the turmerics, the ashwagandhas, the lignans. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the great supplements that I offer. You can get the C60 in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, or a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, or an 8 ounce configuration.
he said very clearly that the Houthis are a terror organization, that in fact he wanted to stress the fact that it did not respond directly from Iran. It did not receive instructions from Iran. It had its own decision making and its own behavior. So I mean, although the Iranians are supplying weapons, technologies, and all the rest, it doesn't mean that the Iranians are the ones that are deciding what to do with the Houthis, and the Houthis are not responding to that. This is one thing. Second, according to the targets that Israel has chosen, so these are targets of infrastructure. What sort of infrastructure does Yemen has? This is it's an underdeveloped country, and it's not the same as you hit, infrastructure in a developed country that immediately you can feel the harm, and you feel that the people would immediately react. Here, there's no such thing. I mean, the 2 power stations and two ports. I mean, they were just experiencing famine there for a long time, and this was one of the reasons why the U.S. just pressed the Saudis to stop the war and reach a ceasefire with the Houthis after 5 years, where the Houthis were bombing day after day, and not with 25 fighter jets, but with a whole air force, and did not succeed in subduing it. What do I want to say, in fact? I say that we have to prove to the Houthis that we are present, that we will not accept a situation where we're not dripping the missiles 1 per day or 2 per day, whatever. This is not acceptable. And for each of these attempts, there's a price to pay. But the price to pay doesn't mean that we will be able to convince the Houthis to stop the war. Because we had, if we look at the experience of the Houthis versus Saudi Arabia, for 5 years, they tried, together with the Emiratis, to subdue them, and they did not succeed. So, I mean, the big question is, if we keep on doing what we are doing right now, I doubt it very much that we will succeed in convincing the Houthis to stop. What we have to do is to begin a situation where the U.S. with the Great Britain and other powers are together with Israel, and this because I mean, after all, they are endangering the 20% of the commerce. I mean, this is the shipping there, and it has to be a concerted effort by the U.S., Great Britain, Israel, and other powers. Emiratis, for instance, Egyptians, for instance, who are suffering.
I'll tell you what. Just to interject really quick here. A big part of the reason why the United States is involved with this is, one, the concern of nuclear weapons by Iran, but mostly commerce. It's about the flow of commerce, right? And it's amazing to me that Yemen has so much control at that choke point. I'm surprised that Western powers didn't eliminate Yemen when, back decades ago.
The Saudis, of course, and this would maybe create a situation where the Houthis will think twice before they're sending another missile towards Israel.
Well, we hope and we wait and we see. Meanwhile, Ariel, the director of the World Health Organization, talking about the famine in Yemen, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, was at the Sana'a airport at the time of these strikes. Tell us more. What is he saying?
Yeah, this in a tweet sharing the head of the World Health Organization that he was just about to board a plane in the Sana'a International Airport. They were there to discuss the humanitarian situation and also the release of hostages held by who other than the Houthis as Israeli strikes begin.
Makes you wonder, why didn't he get on a plane in Kazakhstan?
They were there. In fact, he was saying that just a few meters from where we were, he's saying the runway was damaged, saying they're all safe, him and his team, and they will need to wait for the damage at the airport to be repaired before they can leave. The same wave of airstrikes on the airport led to the death of 3 people, as I mentioned earlier, and the head of the World Health Organization was there at the time.
And tweeting about what he saw and he experienced. I want your take, Jacques, on what we heard a little bit earlier in the broadcast, and that is Israel's defense minister saying, Houthi leaders, beware. We've come after other leaders of terror groups, and Israel is not shy to try and do it again. But the intelligence to target Houthi leaders must be somewhat more complicated than those living closer by to Israel's borders.
Allow me to have some reserve concerning the declarations of our Minister of Defense. And Yemen was never on the focus of our attention as a military, as the intelligence gathering. And I mean, this was too far for us. We were specialized in Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, I mean, Jordan, and certainly Egypt. These are the countries that surround Israel and that count for Israel. Yemen was something that we were not even aware that this might begin. And when the first missiles were sent by the Houthis, everybody asked, who are the Houthis? Who the hell is the Houthis? And so this means that we have to concentrate on a massive intelligence gathering that will take time. It's not something that you build in 2 days. It takes time. I believe at the end of the day, we will be able to target some of them. Maybe if we get lucky, we'll get some very good information, very good intelligence that will guide us to go there. But I mean, I would like to go back to the geostrategic situation in the area. We have potentially two allies that are not Arabs. It's the Eritrea and Ethiopia. I mean, Ethiopia with our historical ties, and together with in Eritrea, where most of the people have Hebrew names. So I mean, we might be in a situation where we could rather shorten the distance between Israel and Yemen. Instead of having 2,000 kilometers to cross in order to get there, maybe we could arrange a situation where we would fly the fighter jets from shorter distances, which would mean that we would have more the possibilities of attacking and reducing the Houthis. And this is something that we have to think about, and I believe that our leaders maybe are right now concentrating on this option also.
Fascinating dynamics, fascinating developments. Indeed, and as you say, many are asking who exactly are the Houthis. So gentlemen, stay with us, because the Houthis are the last terror arm of Iran's extensive axis of evil. They have launched more than 300 projectiles at Israel since the 7th of October. And right now, the region's still waiting to find out exactly how successful this latest Israeli retaliatory strike on the Houthis has been, as we've been discussing. Now, some have been suggesting it's time for Israel to target Iran directly, the head of the octopus, so to speak. Our Middle East correspondent, Ariel Oseran, spoke to the former international spokesman for the Houthis, Ali al-Bukhaiti, just a day ago. So let's take a listen.
علي البخيتي الناطق السابق للحوثيين، السلام عليكم ومرحبا بك.
أهلا وسهلا.
الهجمات من قبل الحوثيين ضد إسرائيل أصبحت
Unfortunately, they're not doing it in English. They have, I'm not going to read this.
أكيد أن الحوثيين سيستمرون في استهداف إسرائيل لأن هذا يزيد من شعبيتهم.
Unfortunately, they're not doing it in English. So I'm going to pause that and wait until that interview's done. I'm going to go to ILTV. They're doing a premiere here.
It was absolutely amazingly divine.
One of the most extraordinary evenings of my life.
Of strategic importance.
Can we please have English? This is the problem. See, the way my show works is it has to be done in English. I'm sorry. All right. Here's a good one. Iran facing severe energy crisis. This was published 2 hours ago by DW.
Of natural gas and crude oil in the world, but the government is rationing electricity and telling citizens to do the same. We look at how the power blackouts are affecting businesses and what's behind the shortages.
There's a blackout on this motorway in Tehran. Iran's oil and gas reserves are among the biggest in the world, yet the country is struggling to keep the lights on. It's a problem that's affecting businesses here in the capital.
When there's a power cut in my cafe, it affects my work. I really don't know why they cut the power. What's more, they've ordered that shops should only be open until 8 p.m. How can I pay the rent for my cafe and my workers' wages? We have a production workshop in the industrial district. Because of the lack of electricity, our production has dropped to about a third. And to solve the problem, because the government hasn't done anything for us, we have bought an electric generator. But unfortunately, we can't find any diesel either. Every day from morning to noon, we have no electricity.
Iran blames sanctions, yet the country has made well over $100 billion from its energy exports in recent years, while spending big on military priorities. A lifting of sanctions to open the country up to foreign investment is only likely if a new nuclear deal can be agreed. Iran may even be forced to import gas, the consequence of years of diverting funds to power plays instead of investing in critical infrastructure.
We are now joined by Behnam Ben Taleblu, a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies in Washington, D.C. His work focuses on Iranian security and political issues. Thank you so much for joining us. So, it is winter in Iran. We heard a little bit just now about how tough the season is going to be for people, but could you talk a little bit more? How serious is this in terms of impacting everyone in the country?
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you. It really is a national crisis, or dare I even say national scandal, impacting the lives of millions of Iranians. As you know, earlier this month, there were rolling blackouts, kind of selective blackouts in parts of the country. Iranian politicians have rushed to point the finger at a combination of factors, be it Western sanctions or domestic overconsumption, with the latter being much likely more of a significant driver than the former. But also, as the package mentioned in the lead-up right here, the years of mismanagement and misplaced resources when it comes to looking at both Iran's oil and gas infrastructure here, even though we're talking about gas, the failure to modernize, and the inability to invest back inside the domestic economy with the revenues, be it licit or illicit, derived from crude oil sales, have brought the Islamic Republic to the current crisis. And because of that, there's national curfews on lots of cities now where they have to turn off the power. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian just hours ago had a speech where he immediately shut off the lights after the speech was done, and in an effect to try to cut down on domestic consumption and try to create.
Before I continue with that video, my take on this, we're halfway in that video. Iran is weaker because of sanctions, weaker because of their war effort that seems to be failing, and that the people are ready for change, and that the people within Iran are probably more secular and are yearning for democracy and self-governance than this top-down theocratic regime from the Ayatollah. This plays well with decapitating the Ayatollah. So, again, you know, this is a data point here that suggests that Iran is not that strong. Another data point that I think is important to take a look at is, you know what, North Korea is not that strong either. But yet we keep on being told that the DMZ and, you know, is all armed and Seoul would be leveled and all that. I think that actually North Korea and Kim Jong-un could be knocked out relatively quickly with current U.S. conventional technology. All right, his regime would fall pretty quickly. Well, why don't we take them out? Why do we keep on pussyfooting around? Why? Russia definitely wasn't as strong as we thought pre-Ukraine. in pre-Ukraine, we thought that the bear was relatively strong. Actually, the bear is relatively weak. I mean, even Biden's administration thought that Ukraine was going to fall within days. Remember the early days of the Ukrainian war? Well, that didn't happen because the Russian army isn't as strong as we thought it was. Now, there are people that, say otherwise. They say that Russia's a lot stronger than what they're showing and all this stuff, and that, this is just U.S. propaganda. Honestly, I think that actually Russia's a lot weaker because of their war effort in Ukraine. In addition, Ukraine couldn't stand on its own feet. It's only because of the United States. So we have adversaries that are a lot weaker than we thought, is my point. But we pretend that they're stronger. So what that does is it allows the national security state to keep on asking for, additional money for weapon development and war effort and intelligence operations and all this stuff.
Some kind of national symbol of energy saving. But all of this is a crisis built on structural rather than short-term problems, and therefore is likely to continue.
Now you talk about years of mismanagement. Did the government then see this coming? Were they prepared for this?
If we talk about mismanagement across the various sectors of the Iranian economy, I would like it akin to more of a stove that you see in a traditional restaurant with not just one but multiple burners. All the burners, when you look at the Islamic Republic, whether you're looking at environmental, agricultural, industrial, energy, what have you, all of those burners are on and on full blast. What the Islamic Republic has done politically is with different administrations and governments is to try to move the pot across each of these burners, some to the fore, some to the back. But it doesn't matter, who is the chef, you are likely going to have, significant scalding and burning. And that's why structurally the problem is likely to remain inside the Iranian economy today.
It must be really hard for people to imagine a country that produces gas and oil suffering with this energy crisis. And we have Iran also blaming Israel as well. Not too much of a surprise, but it is saying that Israeli attacks destroyed 2 major gas pipelines earlier this year. Is that true? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, there's no doubt the shadow war between Iran and Israel has moved out of the shadows. You had the New York Times reporting earlier this month about 2 alleged Israeli attacks on Iranian pipelines that could have had an amplifying or magnifying effect. But again, lest we forget that magnifying effect would have been limited had these issues not been structural, had these issues not been structural. So that's an important critique to keep in mind when looking at who the Iranian government is pointing a finger of blame at. But just to zoom out internationally a bit more, Iran has this energy paradox for many years now. Energy is cheaper inside the country, yet it still exports energy, yet also historically in the past, it's been reliant on certain kinds of imports. For example, well over a decade and a half ago, the Islamic Republic actually had to import gas from neighboring Turkmenistan because of a similar gas shortage, and that had nothing to do with Israeli strikes reported or alleged.
Behnam Ben Taleblu, a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, that was a little informative.
Thank you.
I'm going to go back to I-24 because they're back to English now. But please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the great supplements I have. I have a series of new products that will help to fuel your body with the nutrients you need, and you can use this as a meal for, let's say, morning or breakfast. Plus, if you work out regularly, you can use this as a way to fuel your body for your workout and for recovery. But Boomer Boost gives you 68 different nutrients. It boosts up energy, and it helps with your heart health. Take it every day. There's a scooper, and you just take one big scoop per day. I mix it with soft foods like a yogurt or with hummus or something like that. You can mix it in a shake or a smoothie with just filtered water. It's up to you. All right. Some people even mix it with milk. and take it every day, and it's a great way to get the nutrients you need for the day. Now, it has a very extensive profile. All right, so just go to the store, take a look at the label. I don't have time to read 68 different ingredients, but it's a great supplement, all right, to get healthy. But you can take just this by itself, or you can take it with the barley, the heirloom barley or the gladiator barley, or just take the barley by itself. But the barley is a protein, all right? And the heirloom barley is more focused on detoxification, reducing inflammation, and soaking up free radicals using superoxide dismutase, all right? So you take this as like a protein supplement. This is a great way to supplement your health on a regular basis, and you can use it for, again, a workout. It's better to use the gladiator barley if you're more focused on strength, all right? So if you want to build up strength and you want to reduce the inflammation, reduce your recovery time, and soak up those free radicals using superoxide dismutase, then take the gladiator barley. So gladiator barley to build up strength, heirloom barley to detoxify, all right? Very powerful stuff, high density protein, all right? You mix this with the Boomer Boost, and bam, it's a meal, all right? So if you want to save some money and you want to get healthy, take the powder and mix it with something soft food like a yogurt or hummus, or even a shake, or just with milk, or with filtered water. But this is high quality powder, all right, for protein and for other vitamins and nutrients. So it's a great way to get healthy, all right? You can take them separately, or you can mix them together. If you're mixing them together, it's cheaper if you get my Longevity Boost Box. In the Longevity Boost Box, I have it discounted, and you get the Boomer Boost, and you get your choice of gladiator barley or heirloom barley, depending on if you want to detox or if you want to build strength. It's up to you. Now, also use discount 5, all caps, discount 5 on on any order. But if you buy a longevity box or an anti-aging box, the way I've designed those boxes, they're at a discount compared to the total cost of individual products. So it's a great way to save money, all right? So I've tried to create different price points to help people out, because I know people are struggling. I understand, I get it. Inflation sucks, right? But you need to find ways to improve your health. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Use discount 5 for $5 off, plus go to the anti-aging boxes or the longevity boxes that I have on my store, and you'll get further discount on that because of the way they're designed. So with that said, I-24 is on commercial break. So with that, let's see if we have 11 minutes ago, there seems to be an update on the taxi issue.
Welcome to the ARC Venture Fund. Today, to get very good venture exposure.
And we are also following this developing story that we've been tracking very closely over the last 12 hours or so, after a taxi slammed into pedestrians there near Herald Square, that is over in New York. I do want to bring in CB Cotton with Fox News, joining us now live with more on what we know so far and what is still left to figure out. Good morning, CB.
Hi, good morning, Josh. Yeah, this out-of-control taxi turned Christmas Day shopping into chaos. It actually happened right here behind me over my shoulder at this Capital One building. Police say the taxi jumped the curb, striking 6 people, the youngest victim just 9 years old. So this all unfolded just around 4 p.m. yesterday, according to police, who say the taxi driver suffered a medical emergency. So here's the breakdown of the victims. Officers say a 9-year-old boy with a cut on his thigh, a woman with a head injury, and a woman with a leg injury were all transported to area hospitals in stable condition. 3 other people were also hit but refused medical treatment on scene. And a Good Samaritan who rushed to help, he talked to local reporters in the area, and here's what he had to say after everything unfolded.
The mom was fully under the car, so when we actually pushed when we got up and ripped the fender off, I thought, and I think a couple people thought it was just a little boy. I don't want to speculate on anything with her, but I was shocked that she seemed to be good and was communicating with her son.
Yeah, and in another part of his interview, he said he
a lot of people don't realize that with head injuries, some head injuries could be, really bad right away. All right, it's really obvious, and they've lost consciousness or they're bleeding out or whatever. Some head injuries are really obvious, but some may take a little time before they start to manifest and become very dangerous. So, doing observation on these individuals when it comes to head injuries is really important. Doing a scan, seeing if there's any internal bleeding going on, if there's any herniation of certain areas of the brain. So head injuries they may seem benign, at first, but, an hour later they could be dead.
Mom was smiling there on scene, what appears to be an effort on her part to try to keep her young 9-year-old son calm. So Josh, the NYPD tells us the investigation is ongoing and that no charges have been filed at this time.
And CD, this comes at a time where we know that NYPD is on high alert there due to crime, right?
Definitely, Josh. I can tell you that this crash happened when NYPD was especially on high alert following the Christmas market attack in Germany, where we know a Saudi refugee is now the suspect in that case, accused of driving his car through the market, killing a total of 5 people. After that incident overseas, NYPD gave a briefing to the press here saying that officers would be doing extra patrols in touristy areas in the city just to make sure everyone felt safe and secure, monitoring to make sure nothing bad happened. Of course, we know this crash took place yesterday, but police, no charges have been filed because police do believe that taxi drivers suffered a medical emergency, but definitely there was a heightened sense of alert and security when this unfolded here in the city.
All right, CD Cotton there with Fox News. Fantastic reporting as always. Thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate it.
All right, so I'm going to drop back into I-24 here. You're talking about South Lebanon.
She pulled out after more than a year of war. The Iranian-backed terror group started launching rockets and drones at Israel a day after the October 7th terror onslaught as a show of support for the Hamas terror group in Gaza. UNIFIL is concerned over what it describes as continued violations of UN Resolution 1701. The Israeli military saying only it is looking into UNIFIL's concerns. So still in studio, retired Colonel Dr. Jacques Nahir, former Deputy Head of Assessment in the Israeli Military Intelligence, and our Middle East correspondent Ariel Osaran. And Jacques, you know Lebanon so well, you know Israel so well, you know UNIFIL. What is your take on these latest developments?
Well, the situation in South Lebanon is very complicated because there is a difference of interpretation between Israel and Lebanon, and specifically with Hezbollah. Hezbollah says that the resolution, the ceasefire, it deals only with South Lebanon. It doesn't deal with north of the Litani River. Whereas Israel and the United States say no, 1701 deals with all Lebanon, which means that Hezbollah finds itself in a position where it cannot maneuver. On the one hand, it is confronting Israel. On the other hand, it has no more the backyard. Syria doesn't exist anymore. The Bashar al-Assad doesn't exist. So it's confined in a situation where it has to justify its existence. Why and what? How does Hezbollah do that? by convincing the public in Lebanon that the continuous impeachment of Israel on the ceasefire, by bombing inside Lebanon in the Bekaa, by doing incursions in the villages and exploding, putting explosives in the house and so on, it means that Lebanon needs to be protected. And the only one that can protect Lebanon is not the Lebanese army, it's Hezbollah. So this is the way they are trying to justify their position, and the way to keep, to be part of the political body that right now is deciding about the fate of the next president in Lebanon. Right now there are about 11 candidates. Nobody knows exactly who will be the president. Every Maronite in Lebanon thinks that in potential he is the president. So I mean, this is an issue that is very, very difficult to take care of, and this is happening on the 9th of January, very soon. But I think that the most important event in Lebanon is the aftershock that is felt today in Lebanon because of what happened in Syria. And it brings the Sunni community into a situation where they are demanding total amnesty on all the Sunni prisoners that are present in jail in Lebanon, have been years in jail without trial, and they want and they are beginning to do protests and manifestations and all the rest. And this is creating a situation where Lebanon might slip into not a civil war, but certainly confrontation between different communities, and certainly with the Sunnis and the Shia.
So, talking of which, stay with us, because Lebanon says it's looking forward to having the best neighborly relations with Syria, as you've been alluding to. It's the first official message to the new administration in Damascus since the spectacular fall of Bashar al-Assad's regime earlier this month. The two foreign ministers speaking on the phone. Syria's new Islamist de facto leader, Ahmed al-Sharaa, also known as Abu Muhammad al-Jilani, is now trying to secure ties with Arab and Western leaders. Lebanon's Iranian-backed Hezbollah, of course, played a major part in supporting Assad through years of war before bringing its fighters back to Lebanon when the terror group started a war with Israel, as it showed its support for Hamas in Gaza. In the past, Hezbollah used Syria to bring in weapons from Iran through Iraq and Syria into Lebanon. Now, Syria's new authorities have today launched a security crackdown in a coastal region of the country, vowing to pursue remnants of the ousted Bashar al-Assad government. 14 policemen were killed there on Wednesday. Protests also breaking out in Syria following the circulation of a video showing an attack on a shrine in Aleppo, triggering widespread demonstrations. The protests highlighting calls for social justice and equality as Syrians grapple.
Now, my take on this is that this is the beginnings of the sectarian violence in Syria. Just like there was sectarian violence in Iraq. And so this is going to be a sign of instability, and that there's not, I mean, if you're really, let's say you're the police force for, Assad, right? Assad's regime's done. He ran away, all right? Why would you be fighting? Doesn't make sense. The regime's gone. Makes more sense if you want, as a survival tactic, to just play nice and just, mix with the new regime. But it seems as though the new regime, HTS, is targeting. They're cleaning house because they're concerned that they're not going to be able to elevate. So this is the beginning. I personally think that this is the beginnings of the sectarian violence within Syria since the overthrow.
Political landscape. Our Alex Schloss has details in this report.
Protests erupted in Syria after a video of an attack on an Alawite shrine in Aleppo circulated online. While the demonstrations originated in the heartland of deposed Syrian ruler Bashar al-Assad's Alawite minority in the coastal cities of Tartus and Latakia, they soon spread.
We want all Syria to know that the Alawites in Kandahar are an essential part of this society and its fabric. We're not outsiders, we are the people of this area. We extend our hand to anyone who wants to build a new Syria free from injustice, discrimination, and inequality. We want social justice and the respect of people and their rights.
In the central city of Homs, a large crowd was seen fleeing gunfire. The source of that fire has not yet been identified. This comes just a day after hundreds protested in Damascus against the torching of a Christmas tree.
Our position is that of monitoring what may happen in order to judge if these factions that came, the HTS and the groups that are ruling now in Syria, are serious about creating a civil Syrian society where all its citizens have the opportunity to live freely, and especially its Christian citizens. So we are waiting.
Alongside the Alawite protest movement, 14 Syrian police officers were killed in an ambush by forces loyal to the ousted Assad government and the Tartus government. Syria's new interior minister, Mohammed Abdul Rahman, is vowing to, quote, crack down on anyone who dares to undermine Syria's security or endanger the lives of its citizens.
There is no need for the events that happened in Tartus, and the HTS must hit those who went out in protests with an iron fist. Why are they going out and causing all this chaos? By God's will, there will be no civil war. All those were remnants of the previous regime.
I don't know. If the previous regime is protesting HTS in some way, then does that mean that maybe the United States is involved in trying to create, through the agency, through spycraft, to create havoc in Syria, to cause instability with HTS? I don't know. I mean, what's the real story? Is HTS factions causing the havoc, or is it pro-Assad faction causing the havoc?
Sought to assure religious and ethnic minorities that their rights will be upheld. But until proven capable of doing so, these protests will just be the latest in the string of security challenges facing the new administration that came to power just 2 weeks ago.
Middle East correspondent Ariel Osseran, on top of all the latest developments too out of Syria, a crackdown on protesters, demonstrators calling for social justice. Your take, your insights, what are you learning?
Yeah, as we discussed in studio while this was airing, and Jacques Porly added, this is how Iran destabilizes countries. This is a clear step from the Iranian playbook. Now, in this crackdown in the outskirts of Tartus, where the 14 security personnel were killed, they were ambushed yesterday on their way to arrest leading Assad regime officer who was responsible for extrajudicial executions in the Sednaya prison. Yesterday, the forces were ambushed. Today, they managed to apprehend him following firefights in the streets. This, in addition to the other incidents that we've seen, whether it's the burning of the biggest soccer stadium in Aleppo before a friendly match, a symbol to the rebirth of Syria, or the lighting of the Christmas tree, there are significant challenges that still remain in Syria moving forward, trying to make it a country, at least according to the statements of the de facto leadership, a nation for all Syrians, but there's still many remnants of the Assad regime, and they are definitely influenced by external efforts to further destabilize a pretty destabilized country, to say the least.
When you see those images out of Sednaya prison, when you see the state of the country, the fighting, the range of groups,
the mass graves that continue to emerge.
And what is amazing,
devastating to look
what
at.
is amazing is that the general...
Yeah, but the question I have is, who is supporting the uprising? Is it the United States? Is it Israel? Is it Iran? Is it just, love for Assad, in Syria? I don't know. Something's odd about this. The spider sense, is activated here. don't know, something's weird. If you are a faction that may be antithetical to HTS, but HTS's group is telegraphing that they want peace and prosperity in Syria, and that they would be a welcoming regime for all parties, then why would pro-Assad factions want to protest? Unless what HTS is saying is just not what's really happening on the ground, and that there is sectarian violence. Or, someone's funding pro-Assad. The Iranians, the US, Israel, I mean, Russia. I mean, what's going on there? Or is it just that the society is devolving?
Execution is an Assyrian general council. I mean, this is a minority of the minority inside Syria. And this is the situation in Syria, where the country is divided into communities and minorities, where the Druze today have 7,000 armed militias and say, we are not going to surrender our weapons. And the Alawites want their case also to protect themselves. They will not surrender their weapons. The Kurds, the same. So the task that incomes today on Ahmad Shah is a very difficult one. And let us underline the fact that he gave his first speech in a mosque. But unlike the founder of the Islamic State, he did not declare a caliphate. He did not declare an Islamic State. On the contrary, he said that I want Syria unified. And this is the task, and this is what was, felt by most of the observers, and this was what pushed the United States, Britain, France, Italy, and the Emirates, Saudi Arabia to come to meet this man, see what sort of discussion can we have with this man who is different from. He has transformed from a Julani into a Shah, and this transformation is very important, and certainly vis-a-vis Israel, when he says that he doesn't want the Syrian territory to turn into a land that would provide attacks.
You know what's amazing? You know what's amazing when it comes to the Middle East? All these gun turrets that are on a pickup truck either are a Nissan or a Toyota. In this case, it was a Toyota, but all right, I digress.
The unheard of, and maybe this is the opportunity that we have now. Instead of the Shiite crescent created by Iran, we have now a Sunni crescent that begins in Turkey, Lebanon, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Emirates, Jordan, and this is of course in Egypt. And this is a different geostrategic situation that Israel must take profit of it.
Some have criticized Israel for its fast move into Syria in the very beginning in terms of Mount Hermon and other surrounds, creating that buffer zone. Israel said it was just a temporary measure, but realistically, given your experience in this field, security concerns, how long can Israel stay there in that buffer zone and surrounds?
Well, Israel has signed an international agreement that has been processed by the Security Council, and we are not going to show ourselves as people who do not respect the signatures. This is one thing. Second, I understand the fact that because of the chaos that was in Syria, Israel had to go into the demilitarized zone and say, okay, we are here, and we'll wait and see what is going to be next. And if next is the government of Ahmad Shah, well, it's not so different from Hafiz Assad. And Bashar Assad, we did have negotiation with them about the Golan and about peace with Syria. So maybe this is the chance, the occasion to do so.
Well, certainly Israel has its hands full on several fronts at once. And I want to circle back to our top story. Obviously, the Israeli strikes in Yemen, in just recent hours. Hamas has condemned them, not surprising. Iran has condemned them, not surprising. But that's not all. Ariel Osaran, Middle East correspondent, what's the latest development? Talk to us about the latest reaction to the developments in Yemen in recent hours.
Well, I think most interestingly, first, regarding the damages that were caused by these Israeli airstrikes, Saudi Al-Hadath reporting that the ports of Hudaydah and Ras Isa are completely out of commission. This is a key, not only infrastructure for Yemen and the Houthis specifically, but it's their main source of income through different oil activity. Also, the airstrikes on the airport in Sana'a destroyed 2 Houthi fighter jets. That's according to Houthi TV El Masira. But I think the most interesting response that we've been hearing regarding these airstrikes from all around the region comes from Yemen, from the chief of staff of the Yemeni government army. Those same forces that we discussed earlier in the program. We're talking about Sarir Hamoud Aziz. He obviously condemned Israel's strikes against civilian infrastructure, but said we hold the tyrant Abdul Malik al-Houthi and his terrorist group fully responsible for the destruction of the infrastructure, calling him the head of the evil, and basically pointing the fire at the internal threat coming from the Houthis. And this comes, as we discussed, amid the ongoing offensive coming from the southern region of Taiz, with claiming numerous Houthi fighter lives. And so, as I mentioned, this is something perhaps the most interesting for anyone following in the internal situation in Yemen, to be following these advances, military advances on the ground, because from the air, Israel, the United States, the UK can bomb as much as they want, but it is the advancement on the ground that is critical, imperative for the hoped overthrow of the Houthi government.
Your response to exactly that?
I quite agree with that. I mean, without boots on the ground, there's nothing to. I mean, you will continue bombing. We will send, the scores of planes from Israel backwards. Every time we get a missile or 2 missiles, we get a raid. It will not end. In order to put an end to this story, boots on the ground has to be there. We have to encourage the Yemenite government, the legal one, to begin operations again. The Houthi, together with the Saudis from the north, the Yemenite army from the south, the international force from the sea and from the air, and this might finally bring a situation.
And this is what I was saying on around October 10th of last year. All right, that this conflict is going to, because at that time it was just Israel and Hamas, right, with Gaza, right, and some activity in the northern front by Hezbollah. But at that time, when October 7th happened, right, a few days later, I think it was October 10th, I made a statement that this was going to be a regional war, that this was not going to be just the typical thing, that something new happened, and that it's going to involve Egypt, it's going to involve Jordan, it was going to involve Syria, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and now we're talking Yemen and maybe even Ethiopia. All right? There's going to be a larger border system that is going to be established for Israel, that I think is going to be going back to biblical borders. The biblical border system, now, depending on which scholar you are of the text, depends on exactly where those borders are. But we're talking about like King David type borders, all right? Much bigger than what Israel is right now. That's where this is going. I said that in, I believe it was October 10th, all right? That's where this is going. Now, you got people like Scott Ritter that's saying, oh, Israel's going to fall apart and all that. Really? I mean, it was Syria that fell apart. Oh, Lebanon's going to destroy Israel. Really? Looks like Lebanon's falling apart. Oh, Iran's going to destroy Israel. It looks like Iran's falling apart. So, you know what? you know, that's my take on it. I just think that Israel is moving towards a larger border system. Now, how long that takes, I don't know. But this is setting in motion a much, much bigger thing that is happening in the region. And again, there's going to be people that are cursed, Jews and non-Jews. Different nations will be cursed and blessed, right? It's not going to be as simple as like one group of people is going to be only blessed and another group is only going to be cursed. No, it's not going to work like that. There's going to be a combination of blessing and a combination of curse, depending on what type of people, what the composition is and what that individual is. Because there's a societal blessing and there's an individual blessing and curse. All right. So, but my feeling here is this is moving towards a much bigger event. And the border system is going to be larger. Now, Mearsheimer is saying a greater Israel border system is not going to be in the cards and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, just about everything that he has said so far since October 7th has been wrong. Professor Mearsheimer, sorry, wrong for like over a year. Just roll the tape. So, all right. That's my transmission for today. For the ones that were watching live stream on YouTube, thank you very much. The ones that were watching live stream on Rumble, thank you very much. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Help support my work by getting the supplements. Share the links. Make sure you subscribe to all 4 channels on YouTube. I have Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. I also have different means where you can hear my podcasts on Podomatic, Apple Podcasts, and on my website. So there's lots of ways to see my work and help support it. I'm hoping to release an app next year to expand my operation here. So help support by getting the products and donating. You can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or buy me a coffee on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com, so I can get that app released. So you'll be able to see live streams on the app and hear the podcasts and even purchase the products. So I'm trying to expand the operations, but it's going to be through your help and participation that allows me to do that. Thank you for listening. For the ones that have been listening throughout the transmission on X Spaces, thank you very much. Just to remind everybody, when I set up X Spaces, it's for people to call in, not just to listen, for this to be interactive, right? As news breaks throughout the Trump administration, because I have a feeling that the next 4 years is going to be a wild ride. So, getting your take, getting your opinion, getting your intel is going to be important for the community that I'm trying to build here. So, thank you for listening. Make sure you participate in the different means, and make sure that you have a safe and happy holiday. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.